50%. Chapter 161. Wanyao Mountain. The mighty demonic beasts gathered in a deep canyon. These demonic beasts are all extremely tall. Even if they are tens of feet in size, they are extremely petite among them. The slightly larger demonic beasts are more than 1,000 feet tall, and they look like giants as a whole. The most important thing is that these demonic beasts are all powerful, and almost all of them start from bloodline. King. A huge monster opened, and the sound was like a bell. In the very center of the canyon, a human race sat cross-legged on the ground, but his forehead was covered with fiery red scales, his expression was calm, and he was not angry. He nodded slightly, signaling him to be quiet. After all the powerful demonic beasts from Wanyao Mountain had entered, Longao slowly opened his mouth. Tell me, what happened recently? As soon as he opened his mouth, an incomparably tyrannical breath permeated in an instant. The demonic beasts in Wanyao Mountain are all prostrate on the ground. A four-legged demonic beast looked at Longao with fear in his eyes. Is this our king? This was the first time he saw Longao's face, so he was very excited. Immortal King Powerhouse. Still a dragon. My king. Haiming Immortal Dynasty. A group of demonic beasts began to speak in an orderly manner, reporting many deeds, and Longao listened quietly all the time. He is the dragon clan of the Kangming domain, who was sent into Zui Immortal Domain to receive the demon clan from the lower realm. Almost all the major forces in the upper realm have one thing in common, that is, they attach great importance to ascension in the lower realm. Longao used the Wanyao Mountain to constantly inquire about the movements of the human race and judge whether he was safe. After all, I am in Zui Immortal Domain, which is the territory of the human race. Although he has been authorized by Zui Immortal Monarch, he is still being targeted by the human race everywhere, and Longao is a dragon clan, and bloodline is powerful, which naturally attracts the fear of many human races. My lord, something happened to Wandao Immortal Dynasty recently. I sent a few true immortal demons there, but they died quietly. Longao suddenly looked at the monster, and asked, let's listen to the details. Obey. The big demon hurriedly lowered his head. A man with a clear immortal dynasty came to me before and asked me to help him destroy the Wandao Immortal Dynasty together, and he was willing to share a part of the land with my demon clan. I thought that Wandao Immortal Dynasty's strength was mediocre, so I agreed to this matter. But the Yaozu sent over died directly before. The specific cause of death is unknown, and there are no signs. Longao frowned and asked, have you checked Linquing Immortal Dynasty? The big demon continued. I've checked, and according to the news from the spies, the Linquing Immortal Dynasty has been destroyed by the Wandao Immortal Dynasty. Longao narrowed his eyes, and a sharp light burst out from his eyes. Wandao Immortal Dynasty, Linquing Immortal Dynasty. Looking at it this way, this Wandao Immortal Dynasty doesn't seem to be simple. Longao said, don't get involved with Wandao Immortal Dynasty in the future, and don't try to get his idea. The main thing is a stability. Longao's life philosophy is a dog. Nothing is as important as own life. As long as you are still alive, then everything is trivial. This Wandao Immortal Dynasty looks a bit evil. Since it is evil, then I just stay away from it. The main thing is one without any curiosity. Obey. The big demon said respectfully. As the saying goes, those who are close to vermilion are red and those who are close to ink are black. These demonic beasts who follow Longao basically have some steady habits. What are you fighting for? As time goes on, for true immortal powerhouses, lifespan is almost unlimited. In this long time, being alive is the most important thing. As long as you are alive, you will have further opportunities in the future. So these big monsters are somewhat Buddhist. Tianling Lu clan land. Chen Daojun sat cross-legged in a luxurious courtyard, where there were mountains and water, and it looked extremely delicate. This is the place specially used by the Tianling Lu family to receive distinguished guests. Lu Ling went to catch up with her family, while Chen Daojun and Bai Ruer sat in the courtyard. Chen Daojun stroked her belly, his face full of anticipation. Ruer, why don't we find a time to settle the marriage? When Bai Ruer heard this, she just shook her head lightly. No need, I don't like this kind of red tape. Chen Daojun had mentioned many times before that he wanted to hold a wedding for Bai Ruer, but they were all rejected. Didn't it be said that girls like rituals? Puff. Bai Ruer couldn't hold back a chuckle, then put her arms around Chen Daojun's neck and said, husband, the best sense of ceremony for me is to be by your side. Chen Daojun was also taken aback when he heard the words. Looking at Bai Ruer's serious face, he couldn't help being moved in his heart. Bai Ruer has been alone for countless years, so she is very afraid of being alone, but Chen Daojun is also the same. He is a foreigner in this world, and his cultivation base has improved so quickly that he is often lonely. That's why Chen Daojun thought of accepting Lin Wanqing, a little maid, just to let him know that he is still alive and that I am not alone. But in fact, Chen Daojun has always had a feeling of being overwhelmed by the heights. But this situation eased a lot after having Lu Ling, until the appearance of Bai Ruer made him no longer have such thoughts at all. Even many times, he still feels very sweet. Bai Ruer is very careful with feelings, or with him. Chen Daojun stroked her cheek lightly, and the two of them were so quiet. The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations on getting 3 God-level Spirit Pool Springs. The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations on getting 9 Immortal King early stage summoned characters. The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations on getting 3 God-level Spirit Pool Springs. After Chen Daojun finished smoking, he stood up and said, "Linger, I'll leave first." Bai Ruer didn't ask, but just nodded slightly. Chen Daojun immediately disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he had already returned to the Qingxin Yuan in the lower realm. After he buried the God-level Spirit Pool Spring, he summoned 9 Immortal King early stages, but he left a God-level Spirit Pool Spring outside to improve the external environment. The most important thing right now is the Tree of Thorns, so as soon as Chen Daojun had the Spring of the Lingqi, he immediately released it. After doing all this, Chen Daojun returned to Bai Ruer again. Seeing Chen Daojun come back, Bai Ruer was relieved. I don't know why. Every time Chen Daojun left her side, she felt a little empty in her heart, and she would only recover after Chen Daojun came back. Although she knew that Chen Daojun would not leave her, she still felt a little worried. I am afraid that Chen Daojun will not come back. Chen Daojun sat next to Bai Ruer again. He looked up at the sky, and the two of them walked quietly together. Suddenly, it feels like we are back in Zilin City again. Hearing this sentence, Bai Ruer smiled, because when they were in Zilin City, they often looked at them in a daze. 50%. Chapter 162 Ascension Platform. Zui Immortal Domain. The place of reception. A group of young people sat cross-legged on the ground to practice. These people are the members of the Chen family who have just ascended, and there are some strange faces among them. They are people who ascended from other worlds. One of the white-haired old men was full of shock in his eyes. Is this the upper realm? If you practiced here since you were young, you might be able to break through to the immortal rank in a few years. Another person who ascended also said, "No, it's no wonder that the upper realm is so strong, and the immortal power is so rich. Compared with the lower realm, the advantage is too great. I really envy those who were born in the upper realm since they were young. It is really difficult for those who have ascended like us to fight through countless hardships. Indeed, the people in the upper realm are simply wealthy sons, and we are just beggars." Some people lamented that, although this metaphor is a bit harsh, it is indeed very appropriate. Compared with the treatment of people in the upper world, they are indeed similar to beggars. However, with such a strong immortal chi, it won't be long before I can break through. Discussions continued to ring out, and members of the Chen family like Chen Shang looked around curiously. Is this the upper bound? It seems. That's it. But in terms of immortal chi, it is indeed much richer than the celestial star realm. The celestial star realm is the lower realm after all, and immortal chi cannot be stored. If it weren't for the astonishing number of springs in the Lingqi, immortal chi would have been overflowing as soon as it appeared. A blonde-haired young man came over, and he asked politely, "The Sha Jinyang is the cultivator of the world of delusion. What world did the fellow Taoists ascend from?" Compared with other people, these people in front of him have extraordinary temperament, and they are also very calm about the situation in the upper world. They must have seen the world, so he wants to make friends. I just ascended to the upper realm, and became the lowest existence from the peak powerhouse in the lower realm, so I made friends with some powerful cultivators, and it would definitely be easier to live in the upper realm in the future. Jin Yang took so much painstaking efforts to soar up, so he naturally didn't want to fall. Chen Shang stood up, cupped his hands and said, "I'm Chen Shang, we all ascended from the celestial star realm." Celestial realm. Jin Yang was stunned for a moment, and then a look of shock emerged from his expression. Other people around also looked at Chen Shang and the others. "You all come from the same world?" Chen Shang nodded lightly, "Yes." After being affirmed, the others were even more shocked. Almost everyone here is from a different world, and they also know very well how difficult it is to ascend from the lower realm. But this celestial star realm actually ascended so many people at once. All be good. No wonder these people looked extraordinary, and they were not shocked by the situation in the upper realm, and they behaved very calmly. Could it be that the world in the lower realm is also divided into strengths and weaknesses? Many people are very puzzled. There are a total of 30 people who have ascended this time, and almost 1/3 of them are from the celestial star realm. There was a solemn look in Jin Yang's eyes. It seemed that he needed to establish a good relationship with these people, and he showed a kind smile on his face. It seems that this celestial star realm is very extraordinary, so many ascenders can be born at the same time. Since it's the first time for everyone to come to the upper realm, if there is any need in the future, Chen Dage can come to the younger brother. Jin Yang's posture is very low, completely like a little brother. But Chen Shang is a little embarrassed. I am not as old as you, but you call me Chen Dage. Haha, definitely. Chen Shang laughed. He didn't reject the other party. After all, he had just ascended to the upper realm. Without the protection of the Chen family, he naturally had to be more careful in dealing with things. The celestial star realm. Tisk, I've never heard of it. It's probably just a group of lucky ones who got the legacy of a mortal. A young man with a haughty expression spoke slowly, his tone full of disdain. Chen Shang frowned and narrowed his eyes. Yi Peng walked out of the crowd, and there were 5 people around him, each of whom was powerful. It's very common for multiple ascenders to be born in the lower realm. A bunch of bumpkins who have never seen the world. Listening to Yi Peng's sarcastic words, all the people present were full of anger. But this is the upper realm. No matter how upset they are, they can only swallow it in their stomachs. Yi Peng and his group looked extremely extraordinary, and they should be as powerful as the star world that day. Yi Peng looked at Chen Shang with a condescending expression. There are also relatively powerful worlds in the lower realm, but these worlds are in the upper realm, specially created by certain forces for the purpose of cultivating disciples. But Yi Peng's world is like this. Chen Shang, right, I'll give you a chance to surrender to me. I will keep you safe and sound in this Sui immortal domain in the future. Yi Peng looked at Chen Shang contemptuously, and his tone was full of indisputability and charity, as if it was their honor to recognize themselves as masters. Chen Zhang's eyes were slightly cold, and he said lightly, I'm not interested. What did you say? Yi Peng immediately became angry. The other person beside him scolded. Ignorant, being able to surrender to young Master Yi Peng is a blessing from your 100 lifetimes of cultivation. Don't be ashamed of yourself. Yi Peng looked indifferent. He didn't expect that a cultivator who had just ascended would dare to reject him. The reason why he wants Chen Shang and others to submit to him is not because the other talent is so good, but simply because he feels uncomfortable. I feel that Chen Shang stole the limelight from Own, so I want to use this method to let everyone know who is the protagonist here. But Chen Zhang's response made him feel murderous. Chen Jin and the others just glanced at Yi Peng lightly, and stopped paying attention. This Yi Peng may have some background, but it is absolutely impossible to have a greater background than Own. In terms of aptitude, they are all sacred bodies of various gods now, no worse than Yi Peng, so how could they surrender to him? Yi Peng said coldly, Boy, this is not the lower realm. You really regard yourself as a character, but seeing how stupid you are worthy of serving me. You are not qualified yet. It's just a bunch of bumpkins from the lower realm. His tone was full of contempt. Chen Shang narrowed his eyes suddenly when he heard the words, and a murderous aura emanated from his body. But finally restrained. The situation in the upper realm is still unclear. If there is really a strong person behind Yi Peng, he should avoid it before he has no strength. After all, in the upper realm, there is no protection from the Chen family. Hearing Yi Peng keep saying that people in the lower realms are all bumpkins, many people around the ascension platform showed angry expressions. 51%. Chapter 163 Yi Family. However, not everyone in the Chen family is as stable as Chen Shang, and there are also people who are more energetic. Chen Yuan stood up suddenly, with a murderous look on his face. He said in a deep voice. Trash is worthy of my submission, how dare you fight? Yi Peng suddenly turned his head to look at him, and said in a cold voice, What did you call me? Chen Yuan said with a face full of jokes, Is there anyone else besides you? Don't talk nonsense, you just need to say whether you dare to fight or not. He hasn't lost against Realm yet, so naturally he won't be afraid of Yi Peng. Before Yi Peng could speak, the eyeballs of the person beside him rolled, and then turned into an afterimage and disappeared in place, and suddenly killed Chen Yuan. Presumptuous, how dare you talk to the young master like that? This is a great performance opportunity. Chen Yuan snorted coldly. Sword ray suddenly appeared, and his figure disappeared in place like a ghost. The next moment, screams sounded. Zhang Ning knelt down on the ground, a severed arm mixed with blood fell to the ground, and his face was extremely hideous because of the pain, and his eyes were red. He only felt a sharp pain in On's arm. This severe pain was completely beyond common sense. As a cultivator of a human being, let alone a broken arm, even a half cut would not be life-threatening, and it was impossible for him to suffer such pain. It's this kid. Zhang Ning raised his head with red eyes, gritted his teeth and looked at Chen Yuan, but he didn't make any other moves. The moment they fought just now, he knew that he was not Chen Yuan's opponent. Zhang Ning was defeated with one blow, which made the scene fall into dead silence, and everyone else watched with solemn eyes. They are both immortal realms, but there is such a big gap. Chen Yuan's shot was extremely straightforward, and his strength was extremely powerful. They thought they were definitely not opponents. Yi Peng's eyes were full of coldness. Such a waste thing, shame on daddy. He looked at Chen Yuan coldly, and then glanced around Chen Shang. You are fine. Waste. Chen Yuan sneered unceremoniously. A trash, stop barking here, let alone you, I will kill 3 of you with one hand. When Chen Shang and the others heard this, they all had weird expressions on their faces, and Xiao Yuanzi's character was still so fierce. However, they didn't blame Chen Yuan, it's just that everyone's way of dealing with things is different, and they felt that they should be more cautious. And Chen Yuan's idea is very simple, if you dare to mess with me, then I must kill you. Yi Peng was extremely angry. With a strong aura bursting out of his body, he pointed at Chen Yuan and shouted, you country bumpkin, you are really arrogant, you really think that if you have a chance, you can really compare with me. Today I'm going to let you know what it means to be beyond others. Chen Zhang's eyes turned cold. Did he really think that he was just a display? As the younger generation of the Chen family, Dage has repeatedly come to provoke him, and he also has a bottom line. A violent sense of oppression was released from his body. At this moment, Chen Shang was like a prehistoric beast, with a simple long knife appearing in his hand. The next moment, the knife light suddenly appeared. The entire flying platform was shaking. This saber energy wrapped in a boundless breath, and killed Yi Peng. Yi Peng was startled suddenly, the feeling of death rushed into his brain, making him feel cold all over. How can this be? He roared in his heart, he couldn't believe that Chen Shang had such strength. Such a strong sense of oppression is already comparable to those cultivators who have just broken through Earth Immortals. Didn't he just ascend? How could there be such strength? Chen Zhang's murderous spirit was Ling Ran, he was going to kill Wang Peng directly. Young people, don't do things so radically. A very plain voice sounded, and a Taoist figure suddenly appeared in front of Yi Peng. His facial features looked extremely handsome, and his figure was slender. The man glanced at the saber aura lightly, then raised his hand, and the saber aura disappeared without a trace. When Yi Peng saw the person coming, a look of joy appeared on his face. Uncle Shu. Yi Shu looked at Chen Shang with a smile on his face, and said in a kind tone, you guys must have just ascended to the ascension. My little nephew has been spoiled and spoiled since he was a child, so you laugh at me. You have just ascended, so you must not have any influence. Are you interested in joining my Yi family? When Yi Peng heard this, he said eagerly, Uncle Shu, I'm going to kill him. Before he finished speaking, Yi Shu turned his head and looked at Yi Peng coldly. Yi Peng immediately closed his mouth, not daring to say another word. A look of disdain flashed in the depths of Yi Shu's eyes. The young master of the Yi family is just a clown. Going to the lower realm to be gilded, do you really think you are a character? He looked down on Yi Peng from the bottom of his heart. In contrast, these young people in front of them are extremely powerful. They have such combat power just after their ascension. If they are given a little more time to grow, they will most likely become the strongest in Zui Immortal domain in the future. A solemn look flashed in Chen Zhang's eyes. The breath is very strong. Yi Shu's sense of oppression is very strong as some people in the family. Is this Immortal King? Although Chen Shang has just ascended, he still has a certain understanding of the realm system in the upper realm. According to his understanding, there is only one immortal monarch in the Zui Immortal domain, and the patriarch can control so many immortal king powerhouses, at least he is also an immortal monarch powerhouse. Chen Shang said indifferently, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in your Yi family at all. I originally planned to get along with you in the way of ordinary people, but if you want to do this, then don't blame me for pulling out the background. In Chen Zhang's view, it is impossible for the strength of the Chen family to be afraid of any forces in Zui immortal domain. The smile on Yi Shu's face stagnated, but he continued immediately. Little friend, our Yi family is very powerful in Zui immortal domain, and there are 3 immortal kings in the family. It is absolutely important for you to join my Yi family. It's a very good choice. Chen Shang still shook his head. I'm sorry, I'm not interested. Seeing Chen Zhang's resolute refusal, the other ascenders around all gasped. Although they didn't know Yi Shu's strength, they could tell from the other party's words that his strength must be extraordinary. The smile on Yi Shu's face also subsided, and his eyes gradually became cold. He snorted coldly, then turned and left. As an immortal king, naturally he would not argue with the younger generation face to face. But Yi Shu's eyes burst out with cold killing intent. Such a genius, if my Yi family can't get it, no one else can get it either. To be able to have such strength just after ascension, even in the entire upper realm, is considered a genius level. There is also the celestial star realm. Without the support of the forces of the upper realm, so many ascenders can be born at one time, there must be a treasure. I have to send someone to find out some time. If the disciplines of the Yi family can be placed in the celestial star realm to raise Ji-Yu, it will definitely greatly enhance the strength of the younger generation of the Yi family. 51%. Chapter 164 Dylan City, Escape. After Yi Shu left, Yi Peng's expression turned ugly. On the one hand, it was Yi Shu's disdain, and on the other hand, it was Chen Zhang's strength. It's so powerful. Although very unwilling, Yi Peng knew that he was definitely not an opponent. Recalling the oppressive feeling from Chen Shang just now, Yi Peng felt a little lingering. Damn it! Yi Peng clenched his fists tightly. I must kill him. This man must die. Chen Shang glanced at Yi Peng, and stopped paying attention. If the immortal king hadn't stopped him, he would have killed Yi Peng. In other words, the strength of the Chen family is so strong, the head of the family should have someone in the upper realm, right? Jin Yang, who was very close to Chen Shang before, is far away now. Dude offended the boss as soon as he came up, so how can little brother mess with you? No one came to talk to them. Chen Shang and the others were happy and quiet, sitting cross-legged and waiting quietly. And the darkness of the ascension platform. The light in the eyes of the psychic medium flowed, and with such strength just after ascension, this person from the celestial star realm is really powerful. Immortal Monarch said, it may not be impossible. 30 years later, in the 10,000 Immortals Grand Competition, relying on these people might really be able to get a good ranking. After half an hour, the people from the Immortal Monarch mansion appeared and began to allocate everyone's place. Although they had ascended, it did not mean that every ascended person was worth cultivating. Some people were taken away by other big forces, while others were freed. Chen Shang also belonged to the group of people who were freed, and did not join any forces, but it was not because no one wanted them, but because they were unwilling to join any forces. Regarding this situation, Yi Peng laughed endlessly. If Chen Shang and the others join a certain big force, they really have nothing to do, but as a free man without any background, I can't kill you. Although Chen Shang and others have strong fighting power in the same realm, they are still only a human immortal realm, so what if they have a fighting power comparable to that of Earth Immortal's early stage? Chen Shang glanced at everyone in the Chen family, and then asked, everyone, do you want to be together or separate? Chen Yuan immediately said, I want to separate. There are too many people together, and he likes to travel alone, so naturally he doesn't want to stay with a group of people. I'm going to go it alone, too. Immediately, someone spoke again. Most people still prefer to go alone, but of course some people like to go together. In the end, only 3 of them chose to form a team, and the others traveled alone. Of course, Chen Shang also chose to travel alone. Chen Shang said solemnly, the upper realm is more dangerous, everyone, take care. Take care of yourself. A group of people or all cupped hands said. The next moment, a group of people disappeared on the ascension platform. The psychic stood on the high platform, watching them leave with a smile on the corner of her mouth. She didn't look away until the place disappeared from her eyes, and her eyes suddenly became serious. Immortal King. There really are. Just now he vaguely sensed that there were several Immortal King level figures around the ascension platform, and they all had strange auras. If Master Immortal Monarch hadn't given an order in advance, she would have thought Tianqian Immortal Domain was calling. The background is really powerful. It can even be guarded by an Immortal King level figure. Even if it is the Yi family, it is completely incomparable. Yi Peng entered the lower realm to practice, but he just sent a true immortal to guard it. In contrast, the configuration of this group of people is a bit too luxurious. Originally, the psychic medium was planning to send someone to protect her, but now it seems that it is unnecessary. Yi Peng narrowed his eyes. He took out a piece of white jade, whispered a few words, and then walked towards Chen Shang. Among these people, Chen Shang was the one he wanted to kill the most. Of course, it is impossible for each of them to let go. Kill them one by one. Yi Peng's eyes were full of coldness and sternness. But soon, he lost it, and Chen Zhang's speed was faster than he imagined. A man came out from the darkness, he said respectfully. Young master, the person you mentioned has gone to Dilan City. Dilan City. Yi Peng's eyes flashed with joy. This Emperor Forest City is a city under their Yi family's command, and if you want to kill someone here, is it not to get something? Go, send a message to the people in Dilan City, asking them to arrest the Chen Shang, and I'm going to kill him myself. Yi Peng headed towards Dilan City at top speed. Now. In Dilan City, Chen Zhang's face was a little dignified. He didn't expect that Yi Peng was still following him. However, after entering the city, he shouldn't dare to chase after him with great fanfare, right? The forces behind Yi Peng are powerful, and it is easier to be discovered if you go to a place with few people, but a place like a city is more suitable for hiding because there are many people. He originally wanted to turn around and kill Yi Peng, but as the young master of the master, the other party must be guarded by someone behind him, so he finally gave up this idea. Chen Shang hid himself in the cultivation base, then changed his face again, and walked towards the place with the most crowds. But soon he found that something was wrong. There were always people around him looking at him from time to time. Although this feeling is very weak, Chen Shang can be sure that someone is definitely staring at him. Something is wrong. Chen Shang only felt his hairs stand on his head. He must be being targeted. Could it be that Dilan City has something to do with that Yi family? He concealed his own existence to the extreme, and also used the concealment cultivation technique of the Heaven Department, returning to the ruins. But the sense of gaze still exists. Damn it. Staring at the own people is definitely very powerful, at least starting from a fairy, otherwise it would be impossible to find themselves so easily. The hidden effect of Heaven's return to ruins is super strong, and it is absolutely impossible for Earth Immortal's cultivator to find himself, at least only a fairy can. At the same time, many people are staring at this place in the dark. The eyes of each of them did not fluctuate, but they had one thing in common, that is, they had an identity card with the same appearance hanging from their waists. Vientiane, the world. Master Chen Shang seems to be hunted down. Do we need to report it? It's just a true immortal. No need. This Emperor Forest City belongs to the forces of the Yi family, and their Yi family only has immortal king powerhouses, so we can just report to the steward. Mengyuan, go back and report. The black-robed man named Mengyuan nodded and prepared to leave. A figure immediately stopped him. The person who came was in a white robe and looked indifferent. No need. Young Master Chen Shang has arrangements with the patriarch here. You don't need to worry about it. After speaking, he disappeared directly in place. When a group of spies in the world heard the words, they quickly saluted and said yes. Now the entire Zhui immortal domain is basically full of spies in the human world. Although it is not dense, there are always people in the key places. Over the years, the Vientiane organization has basically developed in the upper realm, and its scale has grown very rapidly. However, there are still very few people who have heard of this organization. 51%. Chapter 165 10 years. Dilan City. Chen Shang didn't stay for long, and after going around a few times, he left Dilan City directly. Since there are people from the Yi family here, they must not stay for long, and must leave this place of right and wrong as soon as possible. But even after he left Dilan City, the feeling of spying still didn't disappear. Chen Shang moved away crazily, extremely fast. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him, and then a giant hand appeared in front of him, covering Chen Zhang's whole body directly. Chen Shang was shocked. He took out a talisman, and then fled from here directly. Looking at Chen Shang who disappeared before his eyes, the visitor's eyes were full of solemnity. God-level teleportation talisman. It's over. The distance of the God-level teleporting talisman is very long, and it may be difficult to find the other party in a short time. He didn't expect Chen Shang to have such a baby. God-level teleportation talisman must be refined by an immortal king or higher. Is there an immortal king level powerhouse behind this person? Although the Yi family has 3 immortal kings, but for a human immortal cultivator, to offend an immortal king, I'm afraid it's meaningless, right? While thinking, he sent the information back to the Yi family. He also knows what kind of character Yi Peng is. He is arrogant and has no brains. Otherwise, the Yi family would not need to let him enter the lower realm to practice. From now on, young Master Yi Peng didn't seem to have changed much. But soon, a message came back again. Do your best to kill this person. Well, I misunderstood you, young Master Yi Peng. It turned out to be an arrangement of the family. That's fine. Thinking about it, he sent a letter to Dilan City, and searched for Chen Zhang's location with all his strength. However, the possibility of catching up to the god-level teleportation talisman in a short time is not high. This thing moved so far away that even if he was true immortal, he couldn't detect the exact location. However, with the influence of the Yi family in Zui immortal domain, it is not difficult to find someone, it will be a matter of time. Million miles away. Chen Shang walked out of the void with lingering fear, his face was full of solemnity. Yi family, wait for me, sooner or later I will take revenge. Fortunately, the family gave them something to save their lives in advance, otherwise they might have fallen there this time. Chen Shang took a deep breath, and there was a fighting spirit in his eyes. Since he chose to enter the upper realm, he naturally wanted to practice and experience the crisis of life and death. Only by being chased by the Yi family could he make his trip to the upper realm more exciting. Thinking in his heart, Chen Shang disappeared in place and fled towards the distance. The most urgent task now is to improve the strength as soon as possible. 10 years passed in a blink of an eye. In the past 10 years, everyone in the Chen family has been hunted down by the Yi family, but every time they survived without any danger. Although the Yi family's influence in the Zui immortal domain is not small, it is not the largest force. The first force, Wen Tianzong, has been sending olive branches to the Chen family, and telling them from time to time that the Yi family has recently trend. It can be said to be very sincere. And this Wen Tianzong is naturally the secret force of the immortal monarch mansion. Chen Daojun has been traveling with his 2 wives in the upper world for these years. In the past 10 years, his cultivation base has broken through to the immortal monarch early stage. Immortal King Peak Powerhouse is close to 100 people, Immortal King Late Stage has 500 people, Immortal King Middle Stage has more than 4,000 people, and Immortal King Early Stage has nearly 20,000 people. Each was placed within the Zui immortal domain by Chen Daojun. The current Zui immortal domain is almost filled with Chen Daojun's immortal king. Chen Daojun's face is comfortable, the system is perverted, now that there are so many immortal kings under his command, and Bai Ruer is a top bodyguard, there is no possibility that there will be problems with his own life safety. After reaching the immortal monarch realm, Chen Daojun found that he could do almost everything he could. From the upper realm, one can directly forget to pass through the lower realm to see the Chen family. He also saw that the 3 thorn trees were flourishing, and Zhao King had already broken through to the immortal king level. Zhao King was the first tree of thorns to be drawn. In addition, Chen Daojun has acquired many god-level spiritual pool springs in the past 10 years. With the huge supply of resources, the tree of thorns has grown very rapidly. Even the other 2 later trees of thorns have now grown into true immortal realm. It's really fast. In comparison, those descendants of the Chen family, even Chen Shang, have only just broken through the Earth Immortal's middle stage after 10 years of cultivation. This comparison is a high verdict. Lu Ling's realm is not high, and she has only broken through the celestial immortal return to origin now, so she can't sense those immortal king powerhouses, but Bai Ruer can feel it very real. Her eyes were extremely puzzled. Husband, where did you get so many immortal king powerhouses? An outrageous amount, right? I'll be good. Chen Daojun gently patted her head, and asked suspiciously, Ruer, are you sure you don't need to go back? He looked down, and Bai Ruer's stomach was already bulging. Bai Ruer did not refuse this time, she nodded lightly, then go back. Although she has been pregnant for more than 10 years, Bai Ruer can feel that it is still a long time before giving birth. Then Chen Daojun brought Bai Ruer and Lu Ling back to Qingxinyuan again. It's a pity that after 10 years, the Tree of Thorns still hasn't grown enough to help Bai Ruer. At this moment in the celestial star realm, immortal qi is already extremely dense, and there is even a faint divine power in the air. Although very thin, it does exist. Such things as divine power are extremely rare even in the upper realm, because divine power is not born from the heavens and the earth, but is produced by the powerhouses of the world lord level themselves. Divine power comes from oneself, not from heaven and earth. However, after the cultivator reaches the level of the world master, and cultivates the power of 10,000 ways, it will feed back the way, drinking and pecking. It should be impossible for the 3 thorn trees to help Bai Ruer, but it is still possible to help Chen Shang and the others in the future. Bai Ruer sat on a chair in the yard, her eyes moved slightly, and she said solemnly, "Husband, the child in my womb may take about 10 years. In the past 10 years, I want to instill a little insight into him, maybe he can give birth to some heaven-defying physique. If possible, he can even be a world lord level powerhouse at birth. Birth as the lord of the world." Lu Ling's small mouth opened slightly, her eyes were full of shock. Although she already knew that Bai Ruer had an extraordinary background, when she heard these words, she was still extremely shocked. What kind of person gave birth to a child who was born as an immortal king? Is it so outrageous? Lu Ling couldn't have imagined that Bai Ruer was the immortal emperor, and she didn't even dare to think about it. After all, the immortal emperor is the strongest group of people in the heavens and myriad worlds, how could they be the wife of their husband? Bai Ruer continued. In the past 10 years, I may enter the closed-door training state, and I will not be able to enter and leave the Qingxinyuan at will. The child is not Chen Daojun's alone, Bai Ruer also attaches great importance to it. Chen Daojun nodded when he heard the words, and just pinched her cheek lightly. "Miss, thank you for your hard work." A sweet smile immediately appeared on Bai Ruer's face. "It's not hard." 52%. Chapter 167 Half-Step Immortal, Chen's Honor. Upper Bound. Immortal Monarch House. Zui Immortal Monarch sat on top, rubbing his forehead non-stop, his eyes full of anxiety. What's going on? Why do so many immortal king powerhouses suddenly appear in Zui Immortal Domain? He didn't know the exact number, but it was at least 5,000. This number is really terrifying. And this is not the real data. Zui Immortal Monarch guesses that there are at least 10,000 immortal kings. 10,000. It would be enough to flatten their Zui Immortal Domain in an instant. During this period of time, he was terrified, afraid that one day these immortal kings would riot. Zui Immortal Domain just feels exhausted. What exactly does that adult want to do? This little Zui Immortal Domain probably doesn't have any treasures. What are you doing with so many immortal kings here? As far as he knew, even among those immortal emperor-level powers, the number of immortal king powerhouses was no more than that. Could it be that the immortal emperor powerhouse was really that? Thinking of this, Zui Immortal Monarch began to lie flat. If this is the case, then it is useless to be anxious. Anyway, he is also an ant-like character. An immortal emperor wants to kill himself, isn't that just a matter of hand? It doesn't matter, destroy it. As for that Yi family, Zui Immortal Monarch didn't bother to care about them either. Immortal king powerhouses had been watching secretly behind those youngsters, but they didn't help. Obviously, it was the one who was going to sharpen them. In this case, it's best not to meddle in your own business. It's enough to win over secretly and show a friendly attitude. It's best to let those young people owe me a little favor, so maybe I can get a little relationship with that adult, and then I won't be in the sky. An immortal venerable to start with, and possibly even a strong immortal emperor. If I can get a little bit of benefit, is it still afraid that the cultivation base will not be able to break through? Thinking of this, the sadness on Zui Immortal Monarch's face immediately turned into joy. Thinking about it this way, it is really possible. Since there is no way to eliminate it, then I choose to join. After figuring it out, Zui Immortal Monarch also relaxed, and even had some expectations. If he can really climb to the top, do he still need to worry about that shit Tianqian Immortal Domain? Totally true. Nether. Celestial World. Bai Ruer stayed in the Qingxinyuan, while Chen Daojun started planning to conquer other surrounding worlds. Compared to developing in the upper realm in the future, Chen Daojun prefers to develop directly in the lower realm. Of course, the future upper realm must also be under the command of Jushao Divine Dynasty. Their Chen family must become the #1 force in the world of the heavens. However, it is too difficult to really let the lower realm grow up. The lower realm and the upper realm are more like two worlds. They have different Dao systems, but the lower realm is weaker, and many people in the lower realm choose to ascend. Ascension in turn causes the nether to become weaker. Everything about cultivator actually comes from heaven and earth. You cultivate and grow, and finally leave this world, which is equivalent to deducting a piece from this world and inlaying it into the upper realm. So if you want the lower realm to grow, you must do one more thing. Ascension is prohibited, or let more people from the upper realm enter the lower realm, which will also enhance the power of the lower realm. But no matter which one it is very difficult to actually implement it. The lower realm is too vast, and it will take a long time to completely fill the top-grade spiritual pool springs. Anyway, let's do it first. Chen Daojun's eyes are serious, and the lower realms have their end. As long as he conquers them one by one, he will definitely create a complete rule in the end. Thinking of this, Chen Daojun sent a letter to the immortal king cultivators in the upper realm, telling them to return to the lower realm, leaving only nearly 3,000 immortal king cultivators. Enhancing the power of the Dao is much more difficult than the heavenly Dao law. Chen Daojun sighed. It didn't take too long for the celestial star realm to transform him, mainly because it was a minor world after all. But the entire lower bound is too vast. Imagination is a big project. Master, a melodious voice sounded, and Chen Daojun looked outside Qingxin Yuan, only to see a woman in a blue dress standing outside. The woman looks beautiful and moving, and her bright eyes are extremely eye-catching. Chen's honor. Chen Daojun showed a dazed look on his face, and in a blink of an eye, this little girl has grown so big. Come in. Hearing Chen Daojun's voice, Chen Xuan'er ran in immediately, saluted with a smile on her face. Meet the patriarch. Chen Daojun smiled softly and said, What, do you have anything to do with the patriarch? Chen Xuan'er laughed and said, Patriarch, I miss you, I haven't seen you for a long time. Although Chen Xuan'er and Chen Daojun didn't meet often, she was extremely close to the patriarch, just like an old father who owns her. Chen Daojun reached out and tapped her on the forehead, and then said with a smile, It's a pity that Xiao Xuan'er has grown into a big Xuan'er, and the patriarch can't hug her. Suddenly recalling that he was already several dozen years old, Chen Daojun also suddenly lamented the passage of time. If it was placed on Lan Xing in the previous life, he might already have half a foot in the coffin by now. Chen Xuan'er showed a little embarrassment on her face, and then she asked, Patriarch, my father and the others have all gone to the upper realm, so can I go to the upper realm too? Upper bound. Chen Daojun was slightly taken aback, and then sensed Chen Xuan'er's breath. Half-step is immortal. My dear, Chen Xuan'er is only in her early 20s, and she actually directly broke through the half-step immortal. If this were done before, it would be completely unthinkable. Chen Daojun pondered for a moment, and then said, Do you want Xuan'er to go for a walk with the patriarch? Although Chen Xuan'er is not young now, in Chen Daojun's impression, she is still a little girl, so her tone of voice also has the feeling of treating children. Chen Xuan'er didn't care about Chen Daojun's tone, she was junior in front of the patriarch. Obey, my lord. Chen Daojun wanted to conquer the world around him, but it was too boring to be alone, so Chen's honor came to find him, so let's bring her with him. Chen Daojun stood up slowly, raised his hand, and a void figure appeared in front of him. On the opposite side of the gate of the void, it is a completely different scene. Another world. Dust world. This is a world that is relatively close to the celestial star realm, and its strength is similar to that of the original celestial star realm. The strongest cultivator is also at the transcend tribulation stage. Chen Daojun preached. Xuanpeng, come to Qingxinyuan. Xuanpeng, one of the commanders of the Tianfu army, is also a strong immortal king. It is also convenient to take him with him to occupy other worlds and deal with after-sales matters. 52%. Chapter 168 The Realm of Dust. Originally, Chen Daojun wanted to take Lu Ling with him, but he thought that Bai Ruer would be lonely at home, so he let her stay at home and be with Bai Ruer together. A moment later, a fierce middle-aged man stood outside Chen's house. To the patriarch that Xuanpeng is here. In the current Chen family, only those who are specially approved, or people from the Chen family can enter at will, and everyone else can wait outside the Chen family. After Chen Daojun glanced at it, he waved his hand directly. The next moment, the three of them disappeared in place. When it reappeared, it had already reached the world of dust. Xuanpeng was stunned for a moment, then stood quietly behind the two of them without saying a word. Chen Xuan'er glanced around and asked curiously, Patriarch, where is this place? She could feel that it was not the celestial star realm in front of her eyes. Chen Daojun said with a smile, Dust Fate Realm. The main purpose of bringing you here this time is to subdue this world of fate and expand the world ruled by the Nine Heavens divine dynasty. Chen Xuan'er's eyes lit up when she heard the words, this kind of thing sounds very interesting. Then what should we do? Chen Xuan'er asked excitedly. Chen Daojun looked thoughtful. The easiest way is of course to use a gun directly. This is also the most efficient way. He also used this method to take down the wasteland. This method is also the most effective way to conquer this dust world. After taking this world down, the people from Jushao Divine Dynasty can take over. But where to start? His divine sense probed towards the world of dust, which is similar to their celestial world, and it is also divided into many sections, but there are more sections here, a total of 7. However, in order to avoid trouble, you only need to pick some powerful forces, and conquering them is equivalent to conquering the world. As for those weak forces, he didn't bother to take care of them. There are 3 transcend tribulation periods in this world, return to origin, and they are only one step away from the immortal realm. You only need to win these 3 forces, and the rest will be almost the same. Let's go. As Chen Daojun said, he wrapped up the 2 of them and left. Juyunzong. Above the main peak. At this moment, all the top executives of sect are gathered here, preparing to discuss the sect competition in 3 days. These people can be regarded as the peak combat power in the entire world of dust, and almost all of them are strong in the transcend tribulation period. As for the person sitting in the highest position, he has a goatee, and he looks like an outsider. He is one of the transcend tribulation stage return to origin in the world. Duan Xinghai said, "Everyone, I feel that at most 100 years will break through the half-step immortal, and I'm afraid I'll have to ascend by then, and the 9 Clouds sect will have to rely on you at that time." Hearing this sentence, all the elders in the Great Hall congratulated. For the people in the lower realm, ascension is their ultimate goal. Because in the lower realm, half-step human immortal realm is the limit, if you want to break through again, it will be difficult to reach the blue sky. But even though they said congratulations on their lips, they all sighed in their hearts. The head of the sect is the backbone of Juyun sect. If he leaves, who else can obey? Both the big elder and the second elder are transcend tribulation late stage, and the third elder is only a step behind. If Duan Xinghai leaves, the 9 Cloud sect will definitely fall into civil strife. People in the upper realm, if they want to enter the lower realm, must at least start as a fairy. And below the immortal, you need to pay a certain price. Especially for immortal realm, it is difficult to enter the lower realm. In addition, after breaking through the immortal rank, the concept of time is different from that of the lower realm. In the lower realm, the lifespan of the transcend tribulation period is only a few 10,000 years, but the immortal cultivator is different, it may take a few 10,000 years to close the tribulation. When closed-door training is over, sect will disappear. This kind of thing did not happen in the lower realm, so everyone subtly believed that as long as they entered the upper realm, it would be very difficult to see them in the future. Duan Xinghai naturally understood this truth. He sighed slightly, and then said solemnly, "Before I leave, I will finish off all the enemies of sect. The rest is up to you." There are some things that he can't solve, so just do what he should do. Once entering the upper realm, the immortals are isolated, and I am afraid that there will be no more involvement in the future. Everyone. Okay. A faint voice sounded from the side. Everyone present was shocked, and quickly stood up and looked in the direction of the voice. At the same time, several extremely powerful breaths erupted, accompanied by a sky-shattering aura. "Presumptuous, how dare you break into my 9 Cloud sect?" Duan Xinghai immediately called out to Meng He, and the aura of return to origin during transcend tribulation instantly permeated the entire Great Hall. Their eyes finally converged at one place, and there were 3 people standing there. The leader is rich and handsome, with a refined temperament. Standing beside him was a smart and beautiful woman, and a fierce and stern man. Duan Xinghai's eyes were full of seriousness. Although he could see the 3 of them, he didn't notice them at all in his perception. How can this be? Could it be that their cultivation base is above themselves? Immortal rank cultivator. Duan Xinghai quickly withdrew his own aura, and said in a deep voice, "Guys, it's not in compliance with the rules to enter the hinterland of sect like this." The explosion of momentum before was just an instinctive behavior. But at the moment, it seems that at least we have to find out the situation of several people before we can determine whether to make trouble. Chen Daojun walked towards the crowd slowly. Duan Xinghai and the others suddenly felt as if they were facing a formidable enemy, their eyes were full of seriousness. A feeling of being ready to explode at any moment. Chen Daojun walked towards the chair at the top of the Great Hall, which was reserved for the sect leader, but because it was a discussion this time, he sat at the bottom. Chen Daojun just sat on it calmly and calmly. Chen Xuaner rolled her eyes, and then scolded with a stern face, "This is my patriarch of the Chen family, today I will give you a chance to surrender to us. Otherwise, die." After the words fell, an incomparably powerful aura erupted. Immortal. Half-step immortal. Sensing this aura, everyone present was shocked. This oppressive feeling has completely surpassed Duan Xinghai. At least it is possible to achieve such an effect if he is a half-step immortal. Duan Xinghai's mind kept spinning. The person in front of him is definitely not a native cultivator of the world of dust. It is impossible not to recognize a half-step immortal cultivator. The person in front of him was very strange. He had never been in contact with it before. But as soon as they came up, they had to surrender, which still made Duan Xinghai's face a little ugly. But if he refused in person, it would not be good for him if a big battle broke out at that time. Besides, there were two unknown strong men beside him. Being able to walk across boundaries can only be done by immortals. Zhu Yunzong is a force under my command. Your Excellency is so arrogant, it seems a little too disrespectful to me. Accompanied by the sound, a ray of heavenly power instantly enveloped the Great Hall. Immediately afterwards, a gray-haired old man appeared in the Great Hall, and he stared coldly at Chen Daojun. This little girl is a half-step immortal, not worthy of his attention. Only the two beside her are reluctant to pay attention to it. Chen Daojun opened his mouth slightly and said, "Oh, angel, so strong." 52%. Chapter 169 Nine Cloud Sect. Chen Daojun's eyes were extremely calm. Generally, there are fairy-level cultivators in the lower realms, because there are heavenly Tao laws in every world, and these fairy-level cultivators can use this to comprehend. And the person in front of him was a fairy, but Chen Daojun knew it a long time ago, so there was no surprise in his eyes. Duan Xinghai's eyes narrowed first, then he was overjoyed. Old ancestor. The person in front of him is the same as the image of the patriarch in the sect Old Shrine. Duan Xinghai had visualized that picture and seen the real body of the ancestor, so he recognized it at a glance. He didn't expect that the ancestor of his sect had been in the lower realm all along. Originally, Duan Xinghai was still a little hesitant. After all, entering the upper realm was a start from scratch, but if he had an ancestor behind him, it would be completely different. At least the early stage will not be so difficult. When the other elders heard Duan Xinghai's words, they couldn't help showing excitement on their faces. This is the ancestor of sect. At this moment, the ancestor of Zhu Yunzong looked at Chen Daojun coldly. He heard Chen Daojun's words very clearly just now, and he even saw his own cultivation base. To be able to do this, either the cultivation base is higher than him, or he has used some kind of magic treasures. But he prefers the former. Thinking of this, Patriarch Juyun's face softened a little, and he said, "Fellow Taoist, this Juyun sect is just a small sect, and it doesn't have any resources, so it doesn't make sense for you to take it." Chen Daojun said lightly, "You don't need to worry about these, you just need to answer me, whether to surrender or not." Hearing this sentence, Patriarch Juyun's expression suddenly became a little ugly. He didn't expect Chen Daojun to be so shameless. Presumptuous. How dare you talk to our ancestors like that? At this moment, the second elder suddenly opened his mouth and scolded. "Our ancestors are here, how can we allow you to be rampant? It is impossible for our Zhu Yunzong to surrender to anyone." A group of elders scrambled to speak, eager to make a good impression in front of the ancestors. Duan Xinghai's face was full of solemnity, but he didn't speak. Although the ancestors' strength is very strong, those three people may not be weak. Chen Daojun snorted coldly. "My time is precious, and I don't bother to talk nonsense with you, so are you planning to surrender?" He is not a very domineering person, and he insists on controlling a person's thoughts unless the other person does not cooperate with him at all. Moreover, the world of dust and fate will be his own territory in the future, and he doesn't want the people below to be a bunch of rebellious people. As Chen Daojun said, a faint breath came out from his body. Although this breath is very weak, it is full of oppressive feeling, especially that of Juyun Patriarch, who feels extremely strong. In the other transcend tribulation periods, because the strength was too weak, they didn't feel it much. Ancestor Juyun was stunned for a moment, then fear appeared in his eyes. "I am not wrong, right? What kind of strength is this?" Just now, Chen Daojun's body only exuded a faint breath, which made him tremble. True immortal, or mysterious immortal, or immemorial golden immortal. Patriarch Juyun only felt his scalp numb, his Adam's apple wriggled, and the sound of swallowing saliva sounded. When the elders behind Patriarch Juyun heard this, they were ready to yell again. "Shut up!" Patriarch Juyun scolded immediately. Hearing this, all the elders shrank their necks immediately, not daring to speak. The ancestor of Juyun hurriedly saluted and said, "Senior, I am willing to lead Juyunzong to express my surrender." Hearing this sentence, all the elders in the great hall were shocked and speechless. When they saw the serious expression on Patriarch Juyun's face, they suddenly came back to their senses. Could it be that he is someone that even the ancestors can't afford? Especially the elder who scolded Chen Daojun just now, his back was sweating and his eyes were full of horror. If he wants to make trouble for himself, then I am dead. Chen Daojun's eyes were calm. With a wave of his hand, Patriarch Juyun was hit with restrictions. After he was done, he threw out another 9 Heavens Divine Dynasty token, which was the lowest level token, and it was only used to convey identity. From today onwards, you can no longer enter the upper realm at will, unless you report to Jushao Divine Dynasty. As for Jushao Divine Dynasty, I don't bother to explain. They will have someone to follow you later. You just need to carry this token with you. After speaking, Chen Daojun stood up and disappeared in place. In the Great Hall, Patriarch Juyun and all the members of Juyun sect showed bewildered expressions. What Jushao Divine Dynasty? What can't fly? Could it be? The aura in Patriarch Juyun's body trembled, and he wanted to tear the barrier between the upper and lower realms, but found that he couldn't do it at all. Could it be that the restrictions on my body are not allowed to enter and exit the upper and lower realms? This, Patriarch Juyun almost burst into tears, is this equivalent to being imprisoned? Exactly. I can't enter the upper realm, and the lower realm is just a backcountry, unless my own cultivation base can be stronger than that person just now, otherwise I will never be able to enter the upper realm. But in the lower realm, it is impossible for him to break through. Ruined. It's all over. However, it seems that I am not completely unable to enter the upper realm, I just need to report to that Jushao Divine Dynasty. What is this Jushao Divine Dynasty? The force under that senior. If I perform better, will I be able to return to the upper realm again? In any case, this is indeed the only way I can do now. Uncomfortable, outside the Juyun sect. Chen Xuaner looked at the domineering Chen Daojun, her eyes were full of admiration. The patriarch is still so powerful. Next, Chen Daojun went to subdue the other 2 forces. As an immortal monarch, he naturally managed it very easily. So far, the entire world of dust has been taken down by Chen Daojun. Ding, I have successfully exchanged 2 god-level spiritual pool springs for 200,000 top-quality spiritual pool springs. After Chen Daojun exchanged, he began to place top-quality spiritual pool springs in the world of mortals. But he didn't plan to put them all in. If all the 200,000 top-quality spiritual pools and springs were put in place, the environment of the entire mortal realm would definitely be better than many places in the upper realm. Chen Daojun took out 50,000 pieces and placed them in various places in the mortal world. After just a few dozen breaths, one can clearly feel that the spiritual qi of the whole world is slowly improving. Immortal qi was born from the top-quality Lingqi spring, but the conditions of the lower world cannot store dislike. When immortal qi disperses, it will transform into spiritual qi and exist between heaven and earth. 50,000 top-grade spiritual pool springs can completely transform the entire mortal world. Although it is not possible to produce a powerful immortal cultivator, it should not be difficult to break through the immortal realm. 52%. Chapter 170 Take down the world of fate, the beginning of time. After the Lingqi spring was placed, Chen Daojun put another mark on the world of predestined relationship. Jushao Divine Dynasty's mark. From now on, this place belongs to their Jushao Divine Dynasty. After doing all this, Chen Dao prepared to leave the world of mortals and head towards the next world. There are so many worlds in the lower realm, at least hundreds of thousands, or even millions of them, and it will take a long time to completely conquer them. However, Chen Daojun learned from Bai Ruer before that the upper bound is at least 100 times larger than the lower bound. There is still a long way to go in the future. Just a day or 2 after Chen Daojun left, a series of powerful figures tore through the void and appeared in the realm of dust. Countless people looked up at the huge crack in the sky, their eyes full of horror. What happened? Could it be that someone from the upper world has come? It's not like that. There are immortals coming down from the upper realm. It can't be such a movement. I saw immortals from the lower realm 3,000 years ago. At that time, immortal qi was bursting, which was completely different from what it is now. Could it be that someone came to attack our world? Panicked voices continued to sound from within the realm of dust. Immediately afterwards, an indomitable figure appeared in the world of mortals, and then the second, the third. Finally, a total of 7 appeared. Each of these figures pierced into the sky, with tens of thousands of feet. They were like giants, and everyone in the world of mortals could see them. Seeing this scene, countless people in the mortal realm became even more frightened. In front of these phantoms, they felt as if they were small ants. Patriarch Juyun was instructing those elders in the sect to practice. After seeing this scene, he stood up abruptly and shouted, "Tai mysterious immortal." This terrifying aura made him tremble all over. He turned his head to look, and saw that the 7 figures were all dressed in white, with a jade pendant hanging around their waist, with Shao engraved on the back and Yu engraved on the front. Shao, could it be that Zhu Shao divine dynasty? Just when he was in a daze, a voice like a bell sounded. Zhu Shao divine dynasty heavenly feather guard, come to guard by order. 9 Cloud sect, Tianqian Zhou family, Shengqing sect, come and see us quickly. One of the heavenly feather guards spoke slowly, and the voice spread throughout the entire world of dust, and it exploded in people's ears. Patriarch Juyun swallowed his saliva when he heard the words, "It really is Zhu Shao divine dynasty. All be good. What kind of force is the Zhu Shao divine dynasty that can send out 7 mysterious immortal powerhouses at will? I remember that the corresponding upper realm here is Zui immortal domain. Why have I never heard of such a force before?" Duan Xinghai asked. Dare to ask the ancestor, what kind of realm are these people? He is not very clear about the specific realms of the upper realm, but he only knows the 3 realms of Taoist immortals, Earth immortals, and Celestial immortals. Patriarch Juyun turned his head and cast a glance, and said lightly, "Of course you will know after you break through to the immortal rank. It's useless to ask now. The world of predestined relationship has changed a lot in the past 2 days, because it has something to do with the strange thing in Tianqian. You should pay attention to it yourself. If you find someone with evil intentions, kill them immediately. This thing should be said by that person." After finishing speaking, Patriarch Juyun disappeared in place. But Duan Xinghai is a little embarrassed. "You think too much of me. There are restrictions around that weird thing that can give birth to immortal power. If you say something rebellious, can you take him away? Shouldn't it?" Soon, those figures disappeared, but everyone in the world of dust and fate still did not recover. What Zhu Shao divine dynasty? What exactly is it? And what relationship do those 3 forces have with this Zhu Shao divine dynasty? The eyes of some ancient aristocratic families are full of dignified colors. The Tianyu guard of the Zhu Shao divine dynasty is only called Juyunzong, Tianqian Zhou family and Shengqingzong. These 3 forces all have a transcend tribulation period return to origin. Could something bad happen? Thinking of this, many people feel extremely flustered. To control a world, naturally one cannot just become a powerful player, but also establish a complete system. At least a large framework must be established. But these Chen Daojun has already planned. Let Zhu Shao divine dynasty send a person to control the entire world of mortals, and then set up a position similar to a steward in every sector of this world. There is no need to go any further. Compared to everyone who is a cultivator, it is not good to have too many constraints. Just let nature take its course. After Tianyue gave a general understanding of the 3 major forces, Supervisor Tianzi, including Zhu Shao divine dynasty and other departments, gradually rushed over. At this point, the entire world of dust and fate can be regarded as completely belonging to Zhu Shao divine dynasty. And Chen Daojun travels from world to world. It didn't stop until 70 worlds were conquered. Chen Daojun stood outside the domain, looking at the ball of light in front of him calmly. The situation in the upper and lower realms is different. The lower realms are all worlds, and outside of these worlds are extraterritorials, and some people like to call them extraterrestrials. But the upper realm is different. In fact, the upper realm does not have a strong concept of independent worlds. Because to be precise, there is only one world in the upper bound, but this world is divided into many blocks. And each block has its own heavenly Dao rule. Here is the difference between the upper bound and the lower bound, both of which have independent operation modes. If the upper and lower realms are compared to one person, they are 2 completely different people, not the same person. But the lower realm is closer to Chen Daojun, because it is very similar to his hometown. The dusty memories were opened, and Chen Daojun began to feel nostalgic again. Although that world is weak, it is full. But I can't go back. Thinking of this, Chen Daojun suddenly had some anticipation in his eyes. Is there a world hidden deep in the heart in the lower realm? Blue Star, I really want to go back and have a look. Dad, Mom, are you all right? A look of anticipation flashed in Chen Daojun's eyes. Immediately afterwards, he couldn't help shaking his head. After so many years, they must have passed away. After being sentimental for a while, Chen Daojun took another deep breath, and his face returned to the calm state it once was. Let's go, it's time to go back. There are already enough conquered worlds, let's develop these places first. After speaking, Chen Daojun took Chen Xuan'er and Xuanpeng back to the celestial star realm. Just before he left, a figure slowly emerged. His face was blurred, and he held a folding fan in his hand, giving him the feeling of a handsome young man. Immortal monarch. The man chuckled. There are quite a lot of people under this man, do you rely on that thing? As he said that, he looked towards the world not far away, and the eyes of Lingqi Spring immediately came into view. What the hell is this? It's really strange that even this emperor can't see through it, and it can still continuously breed immortal power. Suddenly, a pair of eyes opened and looked coldly towards him. At the beginning, if you dare to look at my husband again, I will tear you apart. The immortal emperor shrugged indifferently at the beginning. Bai Ruer, you are still so strong, even if you were not my opponent in your prime, let alone you now. But, I just came across it by chance and found it interesting. After finishing speaking, the immortal emperor chuckled lightly, and then disappeared without a trace. 6. 53%. Chapter 171 Blue Star. Celestial World. In Qingxin Courtyard. Bai Ruer opened her eyes, with a look of worry on her face. Immortal Emperor. One of the ancient emperors, his strength is extremely powerful, even if he is at his peak, he cannot be his opponent. Why did I meet him in the lower realm? My husband has so many secrets. If you are tempted in the beginning, it will be dangerous. Bai Ruer's expression was a little dignified. This immortal emperor has only been in contact with once before, and I don't know his character well. It seems that the husband needs to keep a low profile for a while. This immortal emperor might not be the only immortal emperor in the lower realm, and the more people who notice it, the more troublesome things will be. But, Bai Ruer's eyes burst into an incomparably fierce light. If anyone dares to hurt my husband, I will make him pay the price, even if it is Taichu. While there is little fighting between the immortal emperors, that doesn't mean there aren't any. Immortal emperors can eat each other's Dao fruits to grow, but to do this, they must kill each other. In the heavens and worlds, it is very difficult for an immortal emperor to kill another immortal emperor. Even if you really kill it, it is impossible to be unscathed, and other immortal emperors will definitely pick it up. This is the fundamental reason why immortal emperors hardly do anything. The celestial star realm, outside the domain. Chen Daojun carefully felt the fluctuations of the surrounding avenues, with joy in his eyes. Sure enough, the power of the great Dao in the circle around the celestial star realm is stronger. It seems that it is feasible to use the springs of the Lingqi to elevate the lower realm. Suddenly, the internal energy of Chen Daojun's body surged, and a strong aura came out immediately, but it disappeared completely in an instant. Immortal Monarch Late Stage. With a breakthrough in cultivation base, Chen Daojun felt extremely calm in his heart. After arriving at the realm, it is not only the cultivation base that is returned to own, but also the perception of Wan Dao, so the speed of breakthrough has always been about the same, basically once every 3 years or so. Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. By the time my child is born, I probably will have almost broken through the immortal venerable realm. Back at Qingxinyuan, Chen Daojun's life has returned to its previous rhythm. Chat with the two ladies every day, or go to Shiwandashan to see the scenery, or eat some delicious food in Xuantian City. Although life is very ordinary, Chen Daojun enjoys it. The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations on getting one immortal monarch summoned character. The lucky draw was successful. Congratulations on getting the wishing card. The lucky draw is successful. Congratulations on getting the 13 god level spiritual pool springs. Listening to the cool voice in his head, Chen Daojun's face was full of joy. Wish card. Finally got it again. But Chen Daojun is very curious, what wish will he realize for himself this time? Anyway, it is impossible for cultivation base to increase, and he has the lowest demand in this regard. Make Lu Ling pregnant. Let the child in Bai Ruer's arms be born safely. The system did not respond, and Chen Daojun was not in a hurry. He first placed 13 god-level spirit pool springs in the minor world below Qingxinyuan, and then summoned the immortal monarch powerhouse. Then quietly waited for the wishing card to take effect. Ding! It is detected that the host has a strong desire to return to Blue Star. Use the wishing card for success. Congratulations or galaxy. The timeline of this galaxy is the 3rd month after the interception of the host's travel. The host can summon the galaxy and return directly to the Blue Star. Hearing the voice in his head, Chen Daojun was shocked. Blue Star, can you even get this? Oh my god. The system is worthy of being a system. He looked towards the system backpack, and there was an extra item, Galaxy, in it. According to the system, as long as you use it, you can directly summon the Galaxy, and the time is the 3rd month after you travel. In other words, only 3 months have passed since I returned to Blue Star. Compared with other wishes, this is indeed what I want most. It's just that Chen Daojun felt that this kind of thing was impossible, so he didn't have too many thoughts. He didn't expect that the system could even do this. It's off the charts. Bai Ruer looked at the smile on Chen Daojun's face, so she asked curiously, "Husband, is there anything happy? Tell me and share it." Chen Daojun took a deep breath and said with a smile, "You will know after a while. Since I can go back to Blue Star, I must take Bai Ruer and Lu Ling back to have a look, meet my own parents by the way, and enjoy the delicious food of Blue Star." However, Chen Daojun thinks that the single round of food is just so-so. In his opinion, the food in this world is much better than that of Blue Star. The delicious food on Blue Star is almost all due to the seasonings and additives, but the food in this world is completely good because of simple ingredients. Even without any seasoning, the texture and taste are far beyond the delicacies on Blue Star. It is a blow to dimensionality reduction. But the food on Blue Star is more diverse, such as desserts, hot pot, barbecue, biscuits, spicy strips, braised in soy sauce, steamed, spicy. And many things, such as cakes, simply don't exist in this world. When Bai Ruer heard this, she didn't ask any more questions, but quietly infused the fetus in her body with all kinds of insights. After a wave, Bai Ruer completely fell into silence, in a state of closed-door training. Seeing this, Chen Daojun's eyes became impatient. It's been a long time since he went back, he really wanted to see the situation of Blue Star now. I wanted to take Bai Ruer back, but now she can't leave, so I should go back and have a look. Chen Daojun left the celestial star realm and found a land of nothingness, without any world around. After all, what he drew was the entire galaxy, and the space is too small for sure. Chen Daojun took a deep breath, unable to hide the excitement on his face, and he muttered silently in his heart. Call. As Chen Daojun meditated in his heart, bright lights suddenly appeared in front of his eyes, and then these bright lights continued to increase. Gradually, bright little balls emerged, and these little balls became bigger and bigger. Soon, a vortex-shaped galaxy appeared before the eyes, which contained minor worlds one by one, and Chen Daojun was located in the final center of the vortex. Chen Daojun will use divine sense to wrap the entire galaxy, but it feels extremely weird. Is this formerly huge monster so small? The overall size of the Milky Way galaxy is only about 100 times that of the celestial realm. But Chen Daojun didn't care. He first wrapped up the entire Milky Way galaxy and set up an isolation formation. The galaxy is different from this world, so Chen Daojun does not want it to be affected. He wants this place to become his inner pure land. Chen Daojun divine sense swept again, and soon found the tiny water blue planet. Blue Star, I'm back. 53%. Chapter 172 Handsome Chen Daojun. Chen Daojun disappeared in place, and when he reappeared, he had already arrived outside the blue planet. Outside this planet, there are still satellites floating slowly. Coming back here again, Chen Daojun felt extremely weird. All the worlds in the entire galaxy do not have the heavenly Dao law, which means that the world I traveled through before and the world I am in now are completely different planes. And Blue Star is too small, it's outrageously small. Even the Nine Heavens domain of the Nine Heavens divine dynasty is bigger than Blue Star, let alone the entire wasteland. No, to put it bluntly, the size of Blue Star is actually about the same as some sects. It's as small as this. Of course, for those mortals on the Blue Star, it may be very big. When he came back again, his mentality also changed, and he felt more like a guest. He was a Blue Star before, but now he is not. Now he is Chen Daojun. Although Chen Daojun's name is the same as his on Blue Star, and even his appearance is not much different, but he is indeed not the sophomore on Blue Star. The reason why he wanted to come back was simply because he didn't want to leave regrets. Chen Daojun disappeared in place instantly, and when he reappeared, he had already returned to the ground below. China, Zayoding City, Dazhu District. Chen Daojun was walking on the street, looking at the familiar scene around him. The color of reminiscence appeared in his eyes. The appearance here is exactly the same as in my mind, without any changes. Look, that little brother is so handsome, he is still wearing ancient costumes, he is simply a god. If you like it so much, why don't you ask for contact information? TCH, it sounds like you don't like it. A few girls in JK in the distance, with excited expressions on their faces, were whispering to Chen Daojun, as if they wanted to rush forward to ask for contact information. But in the end they didn't go up, probably because Chen Daojun was too handsome, which made them lack the courage. Chen Daojun walked on the street like this, passing through the streets, he came to the place where he used to live. There is a very fireworks atmosphere here, there are small vendors everywhere, as well as those small shops on the roadside. Maosai, barbecue, pancakes. But for some reason, he feels that everything here is so strange, it should be said that everything in this world is so strange. I haven't been back for decades, can you be familiar with it? Chen Daojun shook his head and sighed, he didn't go back to his own rental house, but walked towards his parents. The place where he lives is not far from where his parents live, only less than 2 kilometers away. To be honest, Chen Daojun didn't have much affection for his parents. They left themselves to be raised by the master since they were young, and they didn't borrow him from their hometown to live together in the city until the master passed away. It's just that they work outside most of the time. Chen Daojun also likes to play games. After work, there is basically no communication with the family. But Chen Daojun didn't blame them, but it is also true that the relationship is weak. Many people around saw Chen Daojun, and they all pointed and pointed, while some young and beautiful women looked at Chen Daojun with bright eyes, their faces full of nympho. Judging by his appearance, he can be said to be the most beautiful man on the entire Blue Star. A woman with delicate face and fair skin walked towards Chen Daojun, then said with a slight blushing. Hello. Can you add your contact information? Chen Daojun turned her head to look, and saw that she was wearing a pair of black shorts, revealing a pair of delicate thighs, and her figure was uneven. Overall, she looked like a little beauty. The moment he saw her, Chen Daojun froze for a moment, and then said, Yongyu. Yongyu was slightly taken aback. Huh. You know me. Chen Daojun was a little speechless. He said, Chen Daojun, don't you know me? Yongyu was his first friend after moving into Zayoding City. The two lived very close to each other, and Yongyu had a lively personality, so he often played with him. Even after growing up a little bit, the two would play gangsters and play alliances from time to time. However, after Yongyu went to college, there was very little communication between the two. It seems that because Yongyu was in a relationship, she often accompanied her boyfriend. Yongyu showed a surprised expression, looked at Chen Daojun carefully for a while, and said in shock. It's a bit like, is it really you? Although Chen Daojun has become handsome, his outline is still the same as before, so Yongyu can barely distinguish it. Otherwise, do you still remember that when you were 11 years old, you broke the bowl at home, and it turned out that I did it, and let me take the blame for you. I ran to my house for dinner and took a nap by the way, but when you wet the bed, my dad found out and beat me hard. And there's more. Yongyu blushed, and hurriedly shouted, Okay, don't say any more, I know you are Chen Daojun. She didn't expect Chen Daojun to remember the black history of Own so clearly, even how old he was. Only Chen Daojun knew about these things, so Yongyu didn't have the slightest doubt about his identity. Yongyu took a deep breath, and said jokingly, Okay, Daojun, did you go for plastic surgery? Why are you now a handsome guy, and you even put on ancient costumes, but don't tell me, you're wearing it really has that taste. It's so handsome. Yongyu looked at Chen Daojun carefully again, with a nympho expression on his face. Chen Daojun smiled lightly. What do you mean, haven't I always been so handsome? Yongyu curled her lips a little, although Chen Daojun was not ugly and clean before, but he definitely had nothing to do with being handsome. Immediately afterwards, she seemed to think of something, and then asked. What have you been doing recently? Uncles and aunts are looking for you every day, saying they can't reach you, and you won't answer my messages or calls. Honestly, have you had plastic surgery? You don't need to hide your whole face, right? It looks quite successful now, doesn't it? From Yongyu's point of view, such a big change in Chen Daojun must have something to do with the plastic surgery. Chen Daojun was a little speechless. Look at me, I'm so natural, how can I have plastic surgery? By the way, why are my parents looking for me? On weekdays, sometimes they can't communicate with each other for 3 to 5 months, and they have only disappeared for 3 months, so why did they start looking for themselves? Yongyu rolled her eyes and said, Look at what you said, your parents must be worried about you, and you haven't responded to any news for so long, thinking something happened to you. Your father still cares about you very much. Ever since he found out that you were missing, he called the police and drove a battery car every day to look for you. You don't know. When I look at Uncle Chen now, I feel that he is 10 years older. During this period of time, he often sits downstairs in a daze, and he sits for a whole day. Oh, by the way, your father went out to the construction site a few days ago and injured his foot. It seems to be quite serious. You should go back and have a look. Hearing Yang Yu's words, Chen Daojun's expression changed, and he hurried towards his home. 53%. Chapter 173 I am Chen Daojun. For own parents, it can be said that the feelings are very weak. But no matter what, the family relationship is still there, they are always their own parents, and Chen Daojun doesn't want anything to happen to them. Why is he so eager to come back? On the one hand, it is the nostalgia for Lanxing, and on the other hand, it is the guilt towards his parents. He feels that he has not lived in his lifetime, and he has not allowed them to enjoy the family happiness. Although they seldom talked with each other, every time Chen Daojun needed money, they called immediately. So this time Chen Daojun came back with two purposes, to let his parents live a good life, and to come back to play by the way. Wait for me, Yang Yu shouted, but not long after the words fell, Chen Daojun had already disappeared. When did he have such good physical fitness and run so fast? Yang Yu complained helplessly, and then hurriedly chased after him. On the other side, Chen Daojun released divine sense and glanced at his parents before he felt relieved. He didn't call cultivation base to go directly, the distance is not far, and the matter is not urgent enough to call cultivation base. Now that they are all returning to Blue Star, Chen Daojun still wants to be ordinary. In the old house 2 streets away from Chen Daojun, the inside is dilapidated, and the chairs and tables have traces of time, which have already become scarred. The concrete floor under his feet was also somewhat bumpy. Although everything in the house is ordinary, even crude, it is very clean. Whether it's the table and chairs, they are all tidy. Lying on the bed was a middle-aged man with half black and half white hair, his left foot was wrapped in a white cloth, and he was staring up blankly. And beside him, sat a middle-aged woman in an embroidered dress. Chen Feipeng sighed quietly. Is there no news from Daojun? Hearing this sentence, Lu Wen's originally quiet mood suddenly fluctuated again. Her eyes were slightly rosy, and she said with a sob, the police came to notify this morning, saying that they still haven't found it. Although Daojun is not doing his job properly on weekdays, he is a nice person and he doesn't gamble. How could he disappear without a problem? Chen Feipeng's eyes dimmed. It's been so long, Daojun still hasn't heard anything, probably something unexpected happened. Lu Wen couldn't help crying when she heard the words, Chen Daojun is her flesh and blood, and the only incense in their family. If he was gone, it would be equivalent to ruining the hope of this family. Why are they working so hard? Isn't it just for Chen Daojun? Neither of them had any education, so they could only do the hardest and most tiring work. Originally, they still had a hope. When Chen Daojun grew up in great completion, he would buy him a house and marry a wife, and then he would be able to hug grandson. In the end, I didn't expect the white-haired person to send the black-haired person. The 3 saddest things in life are the loss of a father in a young age, a wife in middle age, and a son in old age. At their age, approaching 50, they are already old. Chen Daojun's accident was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue, making both of them confused about the future. More than 2 months ago, Lu Wen was going to take some bacon sausages to Chen Daojun, but found that he had disappeared, and he couldn't be contacted even after texting and calling. He didn't think much about it at first, but he couldn't get in touch for several days, which made Lu Wen realize that something was wrong. Then they waited for another 2 days before going to report the crime. Thinking about it now, Lu Wen's heart is full of regrets. If she had reported the crime earlier, she might have found Chen Daojun. It didn't take long for Lu Wen to stop crying. The eyes of the 2 people in the room were dim, and they sat on the ground in a daze. Now Chen Daojun is missing, and Chen Feipeng's foot is also injured. When they went to the hospital for an examination, the doctor said that they had injured a bone and needed tens of thousands of yuan in surgery fees, which they had only saved up for several years. They were planning to buy a house for Chen Daojun to marry a wife. Why? Lu Wen seemed to have lost all her strength, with a look of sadness on her face. Thump, thump, thump. Heavy footsteps sounded, and the door of the room was opened. Chen Daojun looked at Chen Feipeng lying on the bed, and then at his own mother Lu Wen, feeling mixed emotions in his heart. The clothes they wore were still so simple, and the house remained unchanged. Whether it's Lu Wen or Chen Feipeng, the clothes they wear are several years old, and their skin is dark and rough because of their willingness to be exposed to the sun. Who are you? Lu Wen stood up and looked at Chen Daojun with some doubts. How could this person be so similar to her son? The difference in appearance between the current Chen Daojun and the former Chen Daojun is really too big, so both of them couldn't believe that the person in front of them was their son. Complicated colors flashed in Chen Daojun's eyes. When he saw his former parents again, he also had mixed feelings in his heart. Dad, Mom, I'm Chen Daojun. Chen Daojun tried to keep his voice calm. The two of them suddenly couldn't believe it, and Lu Wen said with a trembling tone, "Are you really Daojun?" The difference between the person in front of him and his own son is too great. Although there are many similarities in appearance, whether it is temperament or the feeling of the whole person, they are far from what Chen Daojun was able to compare with. Chen Daojun raised his foot and walked towards the two, while taking out an emerald ring in his hand. This ring was given to him by Grandpa Chen Daojun, but this emerald is not real, it is just a cheap jewelry bought in the market. The only difference from the market is that the three words, Chen Daojun, are engraved on the top of this ring. It's me. Something happened these days, so I couldn't contact you, which made you worry. Chen Daojun's tone was heavy. He was not like other people. He cried bitterly after meeting, and he did not have strong mood swings. On the contrary, he was extremely calm. Although Chen Feipeng was extremely surprised by Chen Daojun's change, but after seeing Chen Daojun, his whole heart was relieved. It's good to be back, it's good to be back. Lu Wen's mood swings were a little more intense, and he said with concern on his face. You kid, don't you know what to do and tell your family members? It's not that we disagree, so we need to disappear. Also, where have you been during this time? I went to the law enforcement division to report the case, and the police officer there said that they couldn't find your trace at all. You couldn't be doing something illegal, right? Chen Daojun smiled wryly. Mom, do you think I look like this kind of person? As for what I've been doing recently, it's not easy for me to explain. I tell you that I have time traveled, do you believe it or not? Even if they would believe it, Chen Daojun didn't want them to know. In the whole galaxy, Chen Daojun will not let anyone in, unless it is Lu Ling and Bai Ruer, this is his own back garden. 54%. Chapter 174 Wake Up. After a few simple chats, Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen's emotions eased a lot, and the originally dim eyes were filled with light again, and they were no longer as gloomy as before. For the couple, Chen Daojun is everything to them. The room fell into silence, and the atmosphere was slightly weird. The three members of their family seldom talk to each other, and basically talk about things whenever they have something to do. Now that the communication is over, they can't find other topics to talk about. Chen Daojun stepped forward, and he put his hands on the two of them. In an instant, the spirit power in the body surged, washing the impurities on the two of them, and healed the injury on Chen Feipeng's leg by the way. In just 2 or 3 breaths, the appearance of the two of them changed drastically, as if they were 10 years younger. The wrinkles on the face obviously felt a lot less, and the two of them even felt light and buoyant, as if they had inexhaustible strength. Chen Daojun said, Dad, come down and take a few steps and try. Chen Feipeng was stunned for a moment. He originally wanted to say that his leg was injured, but suddenly he felt no tingling pain from his leg. So he moved subconsciously, but he was very flexible, and he didn't look injured at all. Chen Feipeng's eyes were full of seriousness. He first glanced at On's leg, then at Lu Wen, and finally fixed his gaze on Chen Daojun. On's injury has improved, and Lu Wen and himself have undergone such a big change, which can easily be associated with some Chen Daojun. Chen Daojun didn't explain too much, he just said seriously, don't tell anyone about me. The two looked at each other, puzzled in their eyes. What the hell is going on here? Just touching them can bring about such a big change, is it magic? Although they didn't know why, they nodded seriously when they saw Chen Daojun's serious expression. Chen Daojun laughed suddenly. Dad, I may not be able to be with you for a long time from now on. If you can also give me a little brother, little sister to accompany you. Chen Feipeng was just about to refute. After all, both of them are so old. But he took another look at Lu Wen, who was much younger, and took this sentence back. However, he is still more curious about what Chen Daojun is doing. He heard that researchers in some countries are doing research, saying that there is a confidentiality agreement or something. Is it this? Otherwise, it would be difficult to explain that the law enforcement division couldn't even find a single person, and it was able to do such miraculous things. Zayading City is considered a first-class city in the whole of China. Although they live on the third ring road, it is still difficult to make someone disappear. Chen Daojun didn't say any more. He stood up and walked out of the house. Chen Feipeng and the two looked at each other, and they felt a little confused now. It's wired. How do you feel that things are not developing according to normal logic at all? Chen Daojun disappeared for such a short time, and the people from the law enforcement department said they couldn't find them, but now they ran back inexplicably, saying that they gave birth to little brother little sister, and then touched them, and the two became young. How does it feel like a dream? Chen Daojun walked out of the house, and now is the next step. Change the living environment for parents and let them live a happy life. Chen Daojun did not intend to let his parents embark on the path of cultivation. They are ordinary people, and it is fine to live their lives according to ordinary people. But he began to think about it again. It takes money to let his parents live in a good place. Then how do you make money? Of course, this matter will definitely not trouble him. Chen Daojun suddenly thought of those urban novels he had read, and suddenly an idea popped up in his mind, and his divine sense spread towards the entire Zayading city. Soon a dying old man was found. By saving the lives of some wealthy businessmen who are about to die of old age, they can gain wealth and at the same time find a backing for their parents. Very perfect. The next moment, Chen Daojun disappeared in place. Not long after he left, Yang Yu came running out of breath. When she saw the two young Lu Wen in the room, she froze in place on the spot. Zayading City, Chengyuan District. This district is the location of the city center, and it is also the place with the most wealthy businessmen. Xingyuan District. Although it is a residential area, it is a villa. In the city center, the price of villas can be imagined. Almost every villa is expensive, and it is not something you can buy with money. There are only 13 villas in the entire Xingyuan community, each of which is inhabited by the richest people in Zayading City. And the one in the deepest part of Xingyuan community lived in the Yi family, the head of the top 10 families in Zayading City. Now, on the topmost floor of a villa belonging to the Yi family, an old man was lying on it in a state of unhappiness. This person is the old patriarch of the Yi family, Yi Wuxian, and he also created the business empire belonging to the Yi family. On his hospital bed, several doctors who specialize in serving Yi's family are doing various examinations for Yi Wuxian. Beside the hospital bed stood Yi Wuxian's 3 sons, their wives and children. But at this moment, all of them looked at Yi Wuxian with worried faces. The Yi family is different from other families. The reason why their family can become the first family depends on unity, so no one wants Yi Wuxian to die. Moreover, the entire Yi family has too many industries. There are several group companies. Without Yi Wuxian they can't hold it down at all. If something happened to Yi Wuxian, although their Yi family would not die out, there would definitely be many negative effects. Soon, after the examination by several doctors, a middle-aged man with a calm face sighed and said, Mr. Yi's situation is not optimistic. Even if we try our best to maintain it, we will do it for half a month. And for the past half month, the old man can't wake up and needs to stay in a coma all the time. My suggestion is that we can take care of the funeral. Hearing this sentence, everyone in the room was shocked. Yi Qi, the boss of the Yi family, did not speak. He walked towards the chair beside him, and then sat down, but there was sadness in his eyes that could not be concealed. The room suddenly fell silent. After a while, the old Sanyachin said with slightly rosy eyes, the old man is 89 this year, and he is considered to be at the end of his life. Let him go with peace of mind. Let's not force so much. The 3 brothers and sisters were all in their 40s or 50s, and she quickly restrained her inner emotions. Yi Qi sighed deeply, and was just about to speak, but suddenly stopped. No, it should be said that the entire space has come to a standstill. Everyone in the room maintained their original movements, as if they had been hit by a hold spell. Immediately afterwards, a Taoist figure slowly walked out of the void. Chen Daojun walked to the bed. He glanced at Yi Wuxian on the bed, and said softly, Wake up, 54%. Chapter 175 I am Chen Daojun. Yi Wuxian suddenly opened his eyes, and he glanced at Chen Daojun beside him. Doubts flashed in his eyes. Who are you? Yi Wuxian's voice was a little weak, although Chen Daojun woke him up, but Yi Wuxian's lifespan was almost at the end, so he was in a very bad state. Originally, he thought that Chen Daojun was the new doctor hired by the family, but he found that the person in front of him was not dressed as a doctor at all. Where do doctors wear ancient costumes? Yi Wuxian noticed those still people in the room again. In his muddy eyes, a color of surprise and uncertainty flashed suddenly. How is this going? Could it be that this person came to ask for his life from the underworld? There is only this possibility. Yi Wuxian sighed deeply. Could he still not escape the ending of death? Looking back on his life, Yi Wuxian wanted to tell himself that he were worth a lot, but he was still very unwilling before he died. Unwilling to die like this. Now Yi Wuxian regrets even more. Why didn't he enjoy life well back then, and dedicated his whole life to his career? I suddenly remembered that owning a life is too cost-effective, except for work or work. Yi Wuxian closed his eyes, quietly waiting for his own fate. Chen Daojun said lightly, "Do you still want to live?" Yi Wuxian suddenly opened his eyes when he heard the words. He looked at Chen Daojun with some seriousness, and then asked suspiciously, "Didn't you come to seduce the soul?" Spirit. Chen Daojun chuckled. There is no such thing as a soul ecstasy in this world, not even in the heavens and myriad worlds. The cultivator's soul dissipated, and the true spirit was reincarnated. All of this is driven by the great Tao, and there is no such thing as a Tao in the Milky Way, a purely scientific world. You just have to tell me, do you want to live? Chen Daojun spoke slowly, his voice as calm as water. Hearing this sentence, Yi Wuxian couldn't help swallowing. Of course he really wanted to continue living. Yi Wuxian glanced at the stagnant people in the room again, and he tentatively asked, "Do you need anything from me?" Of course he knows that there is no such thing as a pie in the sky in this world, and if he wants to survive, he must pay a price. It's just that Yi Wuxian doesn't understand who the person in front of him is sacred. Immortal, Chen Daojun said. Give half of your wealth, I will give you 60 years of life, and you will help me protect 2 people. This. Yi Wuxian frowned slightly, not because he didn't want to. He would nod without hesitation even if he had to pay all his wealth if he could live another 60 years. After all, this is 60 years. But the money is not immediately cashable. All the assets of their Yi family are close to 30 billion beautiful coins, and calculated according to China coins, at least more than 200 billion. If it is half, that is more than 10 billion China coins. But the money also includes mansions, group shares, stocks, bonds, etc., not pure cash. Yi Wuxian said with difficulty, I don't know when you want it. If it's cash, I can only give you about 5 billion China coins immediately, and I need a little time to prepare for the rest. After finishing speaking, he was afraid that Chen Daojun would be dissatisfied, so he quickly added, my funds are not in cash, and it will take some time to realize them, and how should I give them to you? Chen Daojun looked thoughtful. Of course he knew that the money of these rich people was not all in cash. As for Yi Wuxian in front of him, he has lived in Zayoding City for such a long time, so he naturally has a certain understanding. This is someone on the rich list. It's just that the net worth recorded on the list is more than 20 billion beautiful coins. That was the list a few years ago, and there will only be more now. Chen Daojun thought for a moment, then raised his hand, and a note appeared in Yi Wuxian's hand, which recorded the address of his parents. The 2 people living here, Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen, just give them the money. The conditions are also changed. You give them 100 million China coins every month. In addition to any conditions they have, they must be satisfied. He has no idea about money, and this Yi Wuxian is really too rich. Half of the wealth is already appalling, and it is impossible for my parents to use it up. If this is the case, it is better to change to a more realistic condition. Let Yi Wuxian, or the entire Yi family, provide help to his parents at any time. Yi Wuxian quickly agreed. I will listen to you. As long as it allows me to live, I can do anything. The desire for life has already made him lose his mind. Chen Daojun nodded, and with a wave of his hand, Yi Wuxian's image immediately began to change wildly, from an old man to a young man. Soon, his appearance stayed at about 30 years old, the wrinkles on his face disappeared, and he looked very energetic. Yi Wuxian's face was full of surprise. At this moment, he felt as if he had inexhaustible strength all over his body, and his thinking became more agile, without the feeling of sluggishness before. Is this what life feels like? Yi Wuxian's face was intoxicated. He quickly got up from the bed, knelt down towards Chen Daojun, and said reverently, Thank you, Immortal, for saving me. My Yi family will definitely fulfill my promise. If I make a mistake, I will die by 1,000 swords. The person in front of me can raise his hand to make people younger, and only a god can do it. If I can get in touch with such a person, wouldn't I be able to live forever in the future? Chen Daojun nodded lightly. His eyes narrowed slightly, and set restrictions on Yi Wuxian so that he could not reveal his own information. This kind of restrictions are similar to rules. Yi Wuxian can't use any means to reveal today's events. After doing all this, Chen Daojun disappeared in place. When he appeared again, he had already appeared outside the blue star. There are still many beautiful things here, but he doesn't want to be alone. He wants to wait until Bai Ruer is born, and bring the two together. Chen Daojun suddenly looked forward to it. If the blue stars can use technology to go out of the Milky Way and discover the heavens and worlds outside, will they say that the end of science is metaphysics? However, it is still very difficult for Blue Star to leave the Milky Way, and it is impossible to do it in a short time. As for my parents, Chen Daojun thought for a moment, and then thought of a better decision. He left a wisp of his own aura to protect them, and at the same time volleyed a little, leaving a basic cultivation technique in their minds, and sealed a low-level spiritual pool spring in their dantian. Blue Star doesn't have spiritual chi, so it would be embarrassing if they couldn't cultivate with cultivation technique. And mortals don't have dantian, but Chen Daojun is an immortal monarch. Isn't it easy to do this? There is a cultivation technique and Lingqi spring eyes, plus healed the injuries of the two people before, and also modified their bodies by the way. Although it is difficult to make achievements in the cultivation process, it is not a problem to break through the foundation establishment period. Please update them when you come back next time. Originally, I planned to let them spend a normal life, but after thinking about it carefully, Chen Daojun of the Chen family has no parents, and his own parents are also dead, so he will be an orphan by then. Moreover, the two parents are also very kind to him. If they are allowed to die like this, Chen Daojun feels that it is not very good. Chen Daojun's eyes were also complicated, and he was a little tangled in his heart. Before returning to Blue Star, he always felt that he was the Chen Daojun of the Chen family, not the Chen Daojun of the Blue Star. In his heart, Chen Daojun on Blue Star is already dead, and he only wants to make up for his own regrets when he comes back. But when he came back, he found that he couldn't abandon his identity as Chen Daojun on Blue Star, and couldn't ignore his parents. Chen Daojun shook his head, his eyes became calm again. I am not only the Chen Daojun of the Chen family, but also the Chen Daojun of the Blue Star. Both of them are me, and I am both of them. After he figured it out, Chen Daojun felt extremely comfortable all over his body, and his figure withdrew from the Milky Way and appeared in Qingxinyuan again. 54%. Chapter 176 Yi Wuxian, Yi Family. Blue Star. Galaxy Cluster Community. After Chen Daojun left, the stagnant situation returned to normal again, and everyone was immersed in grief. A boy shrank his pupils. He looked at Yi Wuxian on the bed in disbelief, and exclaimed, "Grandpa, is that you?" Hearing the exclamation, everyone immediately looked towards the bed subconsciously. Immediately afterwards, they saw a young man sitting on it with an infusion tube inserted in his hand. Dead silence. Everyone's eyes widened in disbelief. What happened? Especially the few doctors next to the bed. They were all dumbfounded. They kept rubbing their eyes, completely unable to understand what happened before them. He was still dying just now. Why is he so much younger now? The key is that there is no other person in this room. This person is also very similar to Yi Wuxian. It cannot be anyone else. Yi Wuxian stood up slowly. He sat on the edge of the bed, looked around, ignored everyone's eyes as if they were watching ghosts, and walked towards the table next to him. What was placed on it was the lunch delivered today, but he didn't eat it. Yi Wuxian uncovered the lid, and then began to eat with big mouthfuls. Soon, his eye sockets were moist. Very delicious. Yi Wuxian swears that this is the best food he has ever eaten in his life. Is this what it's like to be alive? Only those who have been hungry know the value of food, and only those who have died know how wonderful it is to be alive. Seeing Yi Wuxian gobble it up, everyone in the room was a little dazed, and they hadn't recovered completely. At this time, Yi Qi swallowed. He stood up and walked over and said, "You are." Hearing this sentence, Yi Wuxian turned his head abruptly, and said with sharp eyes, "You bastard, you don't even know your father." As soon as he finished speaking, he couldn't help showing a smile on his face. He was so much younger, and it was normal for his son not to recognize him. He waved his hand and said indifferently, "It's okay, it's not your fault." Seeing Yi Wuxian's angry appearance, Yi Qi was very sure that the person in front of him was his own father Yi Wuxian. Yi Qi asked in great doubt, "Dad, what's the matter with you?" The faces of all the people present were confused. Why did they become so much younger in the blink of an eye? Yi Wuxian was just about to say that he had met an immortal, but after he opened his mouth, he couldn't speak no matter what. His complexion changed. What's going on? Yi Wuxian said again. Did you eat? Did you drink water? No problem, I can talk. He was about to say that he had met an immortal again, but he couldn't make a sound when the words came to his lips. What the hell is going on? Is it because of that person? Yi Wuxian took out another piece of paper from the drawer, and wanted to write down what he wanted to say, but after picking up the pen, his hands kept shaking, and he just couldn't write those words out. So far, Yi Wuxian can be sure that it must have something to do with that person, and he doesn't want me to reveal it. Yi Qi and the other two brothers and sisters behind them looked at each other, and then responded with worried expressions. I ate and drank water. Dad, what happened to you? Yi Wuxian said lightly. It's okay, don't ask me any more about my affairs in the future. Yi Qi, ask Steward's son to prepare a new identity for me. The name of Yi Wuxian's fourth child is Yi Wuxiang. With the connections and resources of the Yi family, it's very easy to get an identity. Yi Wuxian was already a dying person, and it was obviously inappropriate to continue to stay in this world with his original identity. Speaking of this, Yi Wuxian said again seriously. Everyone is not allowed to spread my affairs to the outside world, and seal their mouths to me. If anyone spreads it, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Hearing these words, Yi Qi narrowed his eyes, and he immediately looked towards the doctors beside the bed. It is impossible for the members of the Yi family to disobey Yi Wuxian's words, but these doctors are outsiders, so they may not. Seeing Yi Qi's gaze, several people trembled and said quickly, Master Yi, please don't worry, we will never say anything. After Yi Wuxiang glanced at it, he said calmly, you guys have looked after me for a long time, and I haven't thanked you well yet. Yi Qi, you send someone to send some gifts to their family. If there is any need in their family in the future, just let us know. The meaning of this sentence is obvious, a naked threat. Yi Wuxian single-handedly created the Yi family's business empire, so he is naturally not a gentle and decisive person. If a few people really dare to gossip, then the consequences. The expressions of several doctors changed when they heard the words. They naturally heard the voice of Yi Wuxian's words, but soon they smiled wryly. Thank you, Mr. Yi. Yi Wuxian said again. Everyone else goes out. Yi Qi, Yi Qin and Yi Yun stay. When the others heard this, they walked out in a proper manner, and there were only 4 people left in the room. Yi Qi said, Father. Yi Wuxian waved his hand. Stop asking about me. Seeing this, Yi Qi could only give up and didn't ask any more questions. Yi Wuxian took out the note given by Chen Daojun before, and then said, send someone right away. No, I will go there in person, and ask someone to prepare 1 billion yuan, and prepare a house in the nearby Tianwan community, and buy me some presents. Although I don't know who those 2 people were that Chen Daojun said, but if he can come here in person, it must be someone very close to him. If I can please the 2 of them, I might get some opportunities in the future. Although they didn't know what Yi Wuxian wanted to do, the 3 of them still did it and hurriedly prepared. On the other side, in a dilapidated old house. Both Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen froze in place at the same time. A familiar yet unfamiliar voice sounded in their minds. Mom and Dad, I have to leave for a while. This cultivation technique is called Wan Wu Ju. It can be cultivated to the golden core stage. Chen Daojun explained the cultivation system and cultivation technique, and finally added, by the way, parents, I now have 2 wives, one of whom is pregnant, and I can't walk around at will for the time being. I will bring her here after the baby is born. Meet you. After listening to the voice in their minds, the 2 looked at each other, and both could see the bewilderment in each other's eyes. The room fell into dead silence, and the 2 remained silent. After a long time, only then did Chen Feipeng speak slowly, is it our son's voice just now? Lu Wen numbly nodded. Chen Feipeng asked again, what is he doing? Lu Wen looked at him. Her eyes seemed to say, do you think I know? The 2 fell into silence again, constantly digesting the information in their minds. Lu Wenwei suddenly came to her senses. She exclaimed and said, Daojun said just now that he has 2 wives and one is pregnant. I heard that this is a crime of bigamy. In such a short period of time, what is he going to do? What's up? Chen Feipeng didn't answer. He kept thinking now, what the hell is Chen Daojun doing? At this moment, Yang Yu walked in from outside the house with a water basin, and the couple shut their mouths immediately. The matter of Chen Daojun must not be known to anyone, and must be rotten in the stomach. Yang Yu dipped the towel in water, and then wiped it on Chen Feipeng's legs. Uncle Chen, your leg is so strange. Wasn't it serious before? Why is it getting better now? 55%. Chapter 177 Come to the door, the shocked Yang Yu. Chen Feipeng had a gentle smile on his face. Yang Yu was a kind-hearted girl who had always been their favorite wife. It's a pity that Yang Yu never had that kind of affection for Chen Daojun, and now that Chen Daojun also has a wife, they buried this thought deeply in their hearts. Xiao Yu, I'm fine, you don't need to help damn. Chen Feipeng smiled. Yang Yu shook her head and said, it's okay, it's nothing more than a little effort. If you are injured, you should take a good rest, and leave this kind of thing to us young people to do. To be honest, didn't he come to take care of you? Although the injury on Chen Feipeng's leg seemed to be healed, Yang Yu felt that it might just be superficial, but the injury was still serious. After all, she had changed the bandages for Chen Feipeng 2 days ago, and the wound was still very ugly when she saw it. Even if she took the magic medicine, it would not be possible to heal so quickly. Yang Yu suddenly thought of Chen Daojun's handsome face, his pretty face flushed slightly, and his thoughts kept turning. He probably doesn't have a girlfriend yet, right? Yang Yu's mother has a good relationship with Lu Wen, so the two have had a good relationship since childhood, and the two often visit each other. However, the relationship between Yang Yu's parents is not very good. His father has a bad personality and sometimes beats her mother. At that time, Yang Yu often went to Chen Daojun's house to sleep. But now Yang Yu's parents have divorced. And because Yang Yu often visits Chen Daojun's house, together with Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen, she also likes this little girl very much. Therefore, Yang Yu has a very good relationship with the two of them, and treats them both as godmothers and godfathers. After graduation, Yang Yu didn't go anywhere, so he came to see Lu Wen and the two of them. Chen Feipeng looked at each other and said with a smile, Daojun has something to go out, but it's okay, my leg is much better now, and I don't need anyone to take care of it. Lu Wen changed the subject and said, Xiao Yu, don't go home tonight, just stay here for dinner. Although Yang Yu's character is still very reliable, the two didn't intend to let him know about Chen Daojun. Yang Yu smiled sweetly. Okay, then I'll cook for you, I haven't cooked for you for a long time. Hearing this sentence, Lu Wen's expression changed immediately, and she immediately smiled and said, You are a guest, how can I let you cook, let auntie come. Xiao Yu said indifferently. Look at what you said, you just need to have a good rest, I will do it when the time comes, just wait, I'll go buy some food. After finishing speaking, she stood up directly and walked outside. Lu Wen and Chen Feipeng looked at each other, their faces were a little stiff. Yang Yu looks pretty good looking, and has a kind heart, towards her mother, but her cooking skills. It can only be said that it will not eat dead people. Ah! An exclamation sounded from outside the door. Lu Wen immediately stood up and looked outside. Xiao Yu, what's wrong with you? Walking out of the dilapidated room, I saw that the downstairs was full of cars, and the signs were all those very expensive cars, and there were many people around them watching the show. Men in black came out of the car one by one, looking like gangsters in their outfits. Seeing this situation, Lu Wen quickly pulled Yang Yu back into the house, then locked the door, and watched carefully from the window. Chen Feipeng also ran over and asked curiously, what happened? Yang Yu asked in surprise, Uncle Chen, how is your leg getting better? Chen Feipeng smiled and said, Didn't I tell you that your legs are fine? Then he looked downstairs again, with a serious look in his eyes. Although the law and order is very good now, this group of people seems to be powerful people, and they are not something ordinary people like them can provoke. Yang Yu didn't ask any more questions, but looked down. At the front of the group of vehicles, a young man slowly got out of the vehicle. Yi Wuxian said, Are you in the place? Yi Qi pointed to the house in front, and then quickly said, That's right, it's in front. Yi Wuxian nodded, and then slowly said, You come up with me, and everyone else stays below. Yi Qi nodded respectfully, and then walked towards the second floor. The place where Lu Wen and the others lived was one of the old broken houses, with only 3 floors, which looked extremely simple. Yi Wuxian is very curious, who is the person who asked him to help? Whether it was Lu Wen or Chen Feipeng, he had never heard of the other party's name, so he probably wasn't a big shot, and it was impossible for a big shot to live in this place. Yi Wuxian walked towards the second floor, and then walked towards the third room according to the label on the note. Arriving at the door, Yi Wuxian took a deep breath, then raised his hand and gently knocked on the door. Boom boom boom. A crisp sound sounded. In the room, the 3 of Lu Wen didn't dare to breathe. Such a big man came to the door in person, and there was no good thing to be appointed. Yi Wuxian knocked on the door for quite a while, but there was no response from inside. Did you go out? He turned his head to look at the water basin on the side, and then the water stains on the side were not completely dry, which was obviously made not long ago, and it should not even exceed 10 minutes. Yi Wuxian showed a sudden look. He knocked on the door again and said in a friendly tone, "Hello, I am entrusted to come here, and I have no malicious intentions." Inside the room, the three of Chen Feipeng looked at each other, and after hesitating for a while, he stood in front of Lu Wen, opened the door and asked, "I don't know what's going on." Yi Wuxian glanced at Chen Feipeng. A look of surprise flashed in his eyes. "This is the person who let me find it." The skin of the person in front of him was dark and rough, and he looked like a coolie or a migrant worker. Of course, Yi Wuxian didn't look down on them, just felt a little surprised. Seeing Chen Feipeng's vigilant gaze, Yi Wuxian smiled and said, "Are you Chen Feipeng himself?" Chen Feipeng was slightly taken aback, then asked cautiously, "Yes, you are." Yi Wuxian immediately showed a smile on his face, and he looked at the young woman next to him and said, "Then this must be Ms. Lu Wen." Chen Feipeng frowned suddenly. Why did this person know so much about the situation in his home? Yi Wuxian smiled and said, "My name is Yi Wu Sheng, and I am from the Yi family. I came here this time because I was entrusted by someone to give you something." "Yi family?" Yang Yu exclaimed suddenly, looking at Yi Wuxian with fear in his eyes. "This is a big shot. Yi Wuxian, he can't be the son of the Yi patriarch, right?" Although Yang Yu usually doesn't pay much attention to these things, but Yi Wuxian's name is so big. And in the whole Zayading city, the Yi family is also very famous, it is very difficult to know. 55%. Chapter 178 Confused Couple, Bodyguards. Chen Feipeng asked curiously, "I don't know what you want to give and who asked you to give it?" Yi Wuxian showed an embarrassed expression. He didn't know who that person was. "I don't even know who it is." Saying that, Yi Wuxian took out a bank card and handed it over. "You too, this is a specially customized bank card with the password written on the back and my contact information on it. If you have anything to do, you can contact me. There are a total of 1 billion China coins in this bank card, and an authorized credit line of 1.3 billion. You can use it as you like, and I will pay it back later." Chen Feipeng froze in place like a wood carving, and fell into a daze. What exactly is going on? "Boss Yi, are you sure you didn't make a mistake?" Chen Feipeng's expression was a little flustered. This is not a small matter, and it doesn't always feel like a good thing. Yi Wuxian immediately said, "What's your name, Boss Yi? You can just call me Brother Yi." Yi Qi immediately turned his head away, looking at his father with bewildered eyes. "You are considered someone who died once. Is it appropriate for a person who looks to be 40 or 50 years old to call you brother?" Chen Feipeng was also very confused. He didn't know what Yi Wuxian wanted to do. Yi Wuxian didn't talk nonsense. He directly stuffed the bank card into Chen Feipeng's hand, and then took out the key of Tianwan community. "This is the key to the Tianwan community. There are 3 buildings on the 6th floor, with a total of more than 300 square meters, which should be enough for you to use. Of course, if you are not happy with your stay, you can contact me at any time, and I will ask someone to change it for you immediately. The entire Tianwan community belongs to my Yi family, and you can live in any one you want." Yi Wuxian's tone was extremely humble, and he completely regarded himself as a little brother, which made Yi Qi, who was next to him, dumbfounded. But he didn't say anything. Yi Qi is not a fool either. He can also guess that his father's sudden youth must have something to do with the person in front of him, that's why he was allowed to make such a gesture. Chen Feipeng was completely confused. What's going on? Yang Yu opened his mouth wide, and his eyes were full of shock. Tianwan Community is a house that costs close to 100,000 yuan per square meter. It is one of the top communities in Zayading City. The people who can live in it are either rich or expensive, or they are some big stars. Yi Wuxian continued. "Chen Dage, do you have a car you like to drive? If you like the cars downstairs, you can choose whatever you like. If you like sports cars, I'll send someone to buy them right away." Chen Feipeng waved his hand quickly, and then asked curiously, "Wait a minute, what exactly does this mean?" Yi Wuxian looked at his bewildered expression, and knew that the two of them probably didn't know about that person's arrangement. Suddenly, Yi Wuxian saw the family photo on the wall inside the room. He walked towards the room subconsciously, and looked at the young man in the photo with a serious expression. Like, so similar. At this time, Yi Wuxian also reacted, could that be their son? Let me be good. If I lick them comfortably, wouldn't I have a chance to ascend to heaven with them in the future? In his eyes, Chen Daojun is a god, and he never ran away. Lu Wen had a delicate mind. Seeing Yi Wusheng's reaction, and thinking of Chen Daojun's changes, she immediately figured out a lot of things. Was it arranged by Daojun? It seems that this is the only possibility. And this boss Yi doesn't know who called him here. It fits his son's mysterious style very well. It's just that Chen Feipeng is still immersed in the circle, and he hasn't recovered from it until now. Yi Wusheng turned his head and said humbly, Chen Dage, Sister Lu, then I won't bother you for now, just call me if you have any request. Yi Qi, hurry up and get someone to bring the things you bought to my good brother and sister. When Yi Qi heard this address, not to mention how weird it was, he nodded and ran downstairs. After a while, men in black came up one by one carrying precious gifts, and the already compact room was immediately filled to the brim with these gifts. Chen Feipeng was a little at a loss. Yi Wusheng also knew that it was necessary to give them time to calm down, so he said directly, then I will not bother you, Chen Dage, Sister Lu, I will go first. Yi Wusheng nodded and bowed, put the key of Tianwan community on the table, then turned and left. Watching their leaving backs, Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen looked at each other. Stupid, so dumb. What is the situation? Chen Feipeng looked at the purple gold bank card in his hand, then at the keys on the table, and fell into deep thought again. Now he has also realized that this Yi Wusheng did these things because of Daojun's reasons. But it's normal to think about it. Daojun is very mysterious now, even they can't see through their parents. There is also that so-called myriad art, which can be used for cultivation, and it can also prolong life. It seems that the power is still very powerful. All be good. What the hell did Daojun do? The room fell silent. Yang Yu also stood at the same spot, his thoughts kept turning. Whether it's Chen Feipeng or Lu Wen, they have always loved him since childhood. Seeing the two of them gain such benefits, he is also happy for them. At the same time, she was also a little disappointed. Why Daojun's family was always so happy, but what about herself? In Yang Yu's mind, a man reeking of alcohol and a woman with scars appeared in her mind. Now that his mother has remarried, he hasn't seen him for almost half a year, and his father is an alcoholic who never cared about him. The life fee of the university has never been given to her, and even many times I have to call her to ask her to pay. The cost of the entire university is his own work-study program, and his mother will give money from time to maintain the past. But Yang Yu was actually very uncomfortable in her heart, and often hid herself and cried because of this. Lu Wen was the first to react. She stepped forward and took Yang Yu's hand kindly, and said with a smile on her face, didn't you just say that you want to cook for us? Let's go shopping together. Yang Yu quickly restrained her emotions. She smiled and said, okay. The two immediately walked downstairs, while Chen Feipeng was sitting on a chair, looking at him still in a daze. He still hasn't recovered from his composure. Unreal. Kind of like a dream. Chen Feipeng sat on the bed and fell asleep directly. Go to sleep again, and wake up maybe reality. Lu Wen and Yang Yu walked downstairs, and a car with a gold label angel was parked below, and many people around were stopping to watch. Seeing the two people coming down, the driver beside the car immediately stepped forward and asked kindly. Sister Lu, I'm the driver Xiao Zhou. Where are you going? Do you need me to take you there? Seeing a man in a suit respectful to her, Lu Wen suddenly felt a little unbearable, and hurriedly told him to leave, saying that she didn't need a driver. But Xiao Zhou still left his own business card, saying that he could call at any time when needed, and then drove the car away. Of course, Xiao Zhou is gone, but Xiao Wang, Xiao Li, and Xiao Sun haven't left yet. There were many plainclothes men standing in the dark. In order to protect Lu Wen and his wife, Yi Wusheng directly invited a bodyguard team, and nearly 80 people took turns to protect them. Uninterrupted 24 hours a day, directly fill up the security attributes. 55%. Chapter 179 Fellow Taoist, hello. Chen Daojun confessed to protect the two of them. Yi Wusheng naturally did not dare to neglect. He must do his best to do a good job. What the Yi family lacks most is money. Not to mention 70 bodyguards, it doesn't matter if there are 700. Yang Yu couldn't help asking, Aunt Lu, what's going on here? Her face was a bit worried. Chen Daojun's family knew very well that it was absolutely impossible to get to know such a big shot. If it was for something else, it would be the end of it. Lu Wen also said helplessly, I don't know what's going on. Yang Yu glanced at Lu Wen, and then said nothing. Aunt Lu should know, there may be something unspeakable. Lu Wen asked, by the way, what's going on in your house recently? Hearing this sentence, Yang Yu fell silent, and Lu Wen quickly waved her hands. I'm sorry, Auntie didn't ask on purpose. Yang Yu smiled and said, it's okay. My dad was arrested for gambling 2 days ago. Didn't my mom remarry? You know this, Aunt Lu. I haven't been home for a long time. I rented a house outside. Even if her parents divorced, it was impossible for her to follow her mother. After all, everyone else remarried. And her parents were alcoholics and violent, so Yang Yu didn't dare to live with him. So she is like an orphan now. It can be said that she has no home at all. Seeing this scene, Lu Wen couldn't help feeling a little distressed and patted her head. She had watched Yang Yu grow up since she was a child, and she was considered her half-daughter. Thinking of this, he sympathized with his good sister, who not only married a drunkard, but was forced to remarry in middle age. But fortunately, the newly married man treats her well. I hope she can find a good home. Although the man I married was very poor, at least he had a sense of responsibility and treated her very well. Lu Wen said suddenly, Xiao Yu, you, Uncle Chen, and I are going to move to that Tianwan community, and you are renting a house outside anyway. Why don't you live with us? We also have a companion, and you can save a lot of money. Money. She wasn't dead-headed either. She figured out that Yi Wusheng came because of Chen Daojun, so she let down her guard. Since it was arranged by Chen Daojun, why should I live in this crappy house instead of going to enjoy myself? Both of them, husband and wife, are doing hard work on the construction site, not to mention exhausting themselves every day, and the bricks are hot to the touch on hot days. If it is not a last resort, who would want to go there to work? Ah, Yang Yu was stunned for a moment. She didn't expect Lu Wen to say that, but she shook her head. I won't go. It's not good to stay at my aunt's house all the time. She is just a guest anyway, although she also wants to live in the house in Tianwan community, but this kind of thing is not good after all. But hearing Lu Wen say that, Yang Yu was still very moved. But Lu Wen said indifferently, look at what you said, or you can recognize me as a godmother, and you will be your own child in the future, just live with us. Living with us in the future will help you to take care of me. Didn't you say that you work in the city center? It will be much more convenient to commute to and from get off work if you live there. Yang Yu was stunned on the spot. This. Lu Wen chuckled and said, why, you don't want to? Yang Yu's eyes were slightly rosy. She pursed her lips slightly and bowed her head without saying a word. She could feel the kindness and love in Lu Wen's words. Yang Yu hadn't felt this kind of feeling for a long time. Since her mother remarried, her sky seemed to be falling, and her strongest backing was gone, but now she seemed to have a backing again. Lu Wen reached out and touched her head. Look at you, child, why are you crying? Yang Yu hugged Lu Wen when she heard the words, and called softly, Mom. Hearing this sentence, Lu Wen also showed a smile at the corner of her mouth. Beside him, a man with scars all over his face and a somewhat ferocious face pretended to be a passerby and walked past, then picked up the walkie-talkie. I just heard that Sister Lu recognized a goddaughter, and let the matter pass on. The task they received was to secretly protect Chen Feipeng and Lu Wen, and at the same time, they had to report anything they had. This kind of 24-hour uninterrupted protection was originally very cumbersome, but it couldn't hold back the Yi families much. 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. Chen Daojun slowly opened his eyes, and he turned his head to look at the 3 thorny trees in the yard. Zhao King broke through to the immortal monarch realm. 2 other trees of thorns also broke through to the immortal king. This tree of thorns is really abnormal. As long as there are resources, they can grow infinitely without upper limit, and the speed is extremely fast, without the slightest barrier. Chen Daojun glanced at Bai Ruer, and then at Lu Ling, who broke through the closed-door training, with a look of helplessness on his face. He can grow without closed-door training cultivation base, which makes him the most idle person. Time flies like a white horse, and 3 years have passed. Chen Daojun was followed by Lin Wanqing's 4 maids. They stood on the highest mountain in Shiwanshanda, overlooking the whole world. As for Lin Wanqing and Miaojun, they stood quietly aside. Chen Daojun also broke through to the immortal monarch late stage some time ago, and in the past 3 years, he has also drawn a lot of immortal monarch powerhouses. But this time he only allowed a small number of strong players to enter the upper realm, and most of them stayed in the lower realm. Although this would cause their cultivation base to stagnate, the impact was not great. The strong staying in the lower realm will also increase the power of the lower realm in a disguised form, but it will take time, and there will be no obvious changes in a short period of time. During this period of time, Lu Ling and Bai Ruer were completely silent. In the past, Bai Ruer could still talk to her from time to time, but during this time, there was almost no reaction at all. But fortunately, there are 4 little maids by my side, and if it is not possible, I can go to Zi in Jushao Temple to play. In the past 3 years, it is obvious that the power of the Tao in the lower realm has increased, although according to the progress bar, it has only increased by 1%, or even 1,000th. But growth is a good thing. Chen Daojun took 4 little maids and headed towards the outside world, traveling in various worlds in the lower realm. His current pleasure is to eat, drink, have fun, and experience different delicacies. Another 2 years passed. Chen Daojun was just about to enter a world, when suddenly a handsome man galloped from a distance, holding a folding fan. He looked extremely handsome. But compared to Chen Daojun, it is still a lot worse. After all, he has used a lot of temperament improvement cards. No one is stronger than him in a single round of temperament. Fellow Taoist, hello. The visitor smiled and said kindly. 56%. Chapter 180 The World's Guest, Haunted. Chen Daojun condensed slightly. Who are you? The person in front of him only had the breath of immemorial golden immortal, but he quietly arrived in front of him, and he was aware of it. In this case, it is only possible that the opponent's cultivation base is higher than his own, or he has a secret treasure on his body, which can hide the detection of the immortal monarch. Chen Daojun secretly used the detection card in the system space. Ding! Detected the opponent's cultivation base. The detection was successful, and the opponent is Immortal Emperor Realm. I lost it. How come you run into the Immortal Emperor every time you go out? This detection card is something he has drawn over the years, but the number is not many, only 7, and can ignore the realm to detect the opponent's cultivation base. However, Chen Daojun is relatively calm, owns a lot of special props. Even if he encounters Immortal Emperor, he will never be afraid. Taichu smiled and said, Sha Qinghong is also traveling in this lower realm. Seeing that fellow Taoist is very lively here, why don't you take me with you and let's go play together? Oh, Chen Daojun's face was indifferent, and then he directly waved his hand and said, Sorry, I'm not interested. After finishing speaking, he walked directly towards the world below. This is a completely strange world, and everything in it is unknown. Well, at the beginning, Immortal Emperor was stunned, and he looked at Chen Daojun in a daze. How many years have no one rejected themselves? In the beginning, the Immortal Emperor shook his head and laughed. He must have rejected me because he didn't know my realm, or maybe he thought I only had the golden immortal cultivation base and didn't bother to be with him. Probably. That being the case, then I will raise the cultivation base to the same immortal monarch realm as yours, and see if you still have the same attitude as before. Chen Daojun passed through the barrier of the world easily. He didn't know the name of this world very well, and he didn't need to know it. Now he mainly came here to experience the characteristics of humanity, not to conquer this world. Mahayana period. Weaker. Chen Daojun felt it for a moment, then shook his head. The world's strongest cultivator is only in the Mahayana stage, and he hasn't even reached the threshold of ascension. But since it's all here. With a wave of his hand, Chen Daojun threw 500 top-grade spirit pool springs above 10,000 zhong to improve the environment of this world. He has now regarded the entire lower realm as his own property, so there is nothing wrong with raising the lower realm. Chen Daojun said calmly, Wanqing, you guys cover your faces. The few of them are all stunning, and if they show it so clearly, they may be a little blind and come to ask for trouble. Lin Wanqing and the others nodded, then took out a bamboo hat with a pure white veil and put it on their heads to hide their faces. But the face is covered, but the figure and temperament cannot be concealed. It is still very attractive at first glance, and one can tell that she is a beauty, but it is much better than before. Chen Daojun looked towards this world again. It was a bit different from other worlds. He only had one plate. All the demonic beasts, the Terrans, are crowded together, and even a lot of places are mixed with humans and demons. Such an environment will be more dangerous, because there are crises everywhere. Compared with the 3 of Miaojun, Lin Wanqing was much more brisk, and looked around from time to time. He had been with Chen Daojun for a long time, and knew that Chen Daojun was very kind to him, so he had to relax a lot. But the 3 of Miaojun are different, they are completely servants. The 5 of them walked towards a city, which was something Chen Daojun would do every time he entered a new world. Find a place to eat something. It was also the first thing he did. Spirit stones are universal items in the entire nether, so Chen Daojun is not worried about running out of money to eat. The scale of this city is not small, and there is an indistinguishable Tao strongman sitting in it. In this world where the upper limit is only the Mahayana stage, the indistinguishable Tao stage is already considered a top powerhouse. A guest from all over the world. Chen Daojun arrived in front of a restaurant, looked up, and walked straight in. The scale and reception methods of these luxury hotels are actually similar, the only difference is the difference in food. Among the heavens and worlds, there are too many types of demonic beasts, and even many worlds have unique demonic beasts, which leads to different cuisines in many places. Demonic beasts can breed across races. As long as they don't cross too far, they can basically give birth to offspring. This is also the key reason why there are so many types of demonic beasts. Chen Daojun walked in and was ushered into the luxury private room on the top floor by the receptionist. Guest officer, this is our menu here. With a friendly smile on his face, the receptionist handed over the menu in his hand. Chen Daojun waved his hand directly. There is no need for a menu, just give me a copy of everything on it. The receptionist was stunned for a moment, and then looked at Chen Daojun with disbelieving eyes. Guest officer, are you sure? The ingredients of our tianxiaki are not bad, and each food starts with at least 300 middle-grade spirit stones. Chen Daojun said flatly, I know. Seeing Chen Daojun's unquestionable expression, the receptionist was shocked. This is a big shot. There are nearly 300 kinds of dishes for their customers all over the world. If you cook all of them, that is a huge number, and looking at Chen Daojun's appearance, he doesn't seem to be the kind who can't afford to eat. After the receptionist turned and left, he did not go directly to the back kitchen, but chose to report to the shopkeeper first. What? After the shopkeeper heard the words, the whole person turned pale with shock. Are you sure he meant to serve every dish? The receptionist nodded quickly. I also confirmed once that each of the guests really wanted a copy. And I don't think he looks like an ordinary person, but my subordinates have never seen this person before, so he must not be from Muyang City, he must be from other places. After the shopkeeper heard the words, there was a strange light in his eyes, and he ordered, let someone do it first. He was the only one left in the room, and the shopkeeper's eyes flickered, becoming murderous for a while, and returning to normal for a while. In the end, the shopkeeper's eyes returned to normal, and he shook his head. Forget it, it must not be a simple person who can buy so many things at once, so there is no need to take risks for it. The risk of robbery is too high, especially when the identity of the other party cannot be judged. This is the most dangerous. Because you are not sure whether the other party is some kind of ruthless character. Chen Daojun sat down. Yang Linger immediately stepped forward, poured tea for Chen Daojun, and then obediently stood behind him and rubbed Chen Daojun's shoulders. Along the way, they all agreed that each of them would serve Chen Daojun for a day, and today it was Yang Linger's turn. Suddenly, Chen Daojun felt a powerful aura. A mortal monarch. He suddenly turned his head to look, and saw a handsome young man walking in front of Tianxia K's door. I lost it. Why are you so haunted? Chen Daojun felt a little speechless. Chen Daojun felt a little speechless. Chen Daojun